with that.
Hello and welcome to the Craft Beer channel. Brad is behind that glass, I hope. There he is.
Hey!
Welcome to the 25th live show, I think. I've forgotten exactly whether it's the 25th, and I wrote it in Roman numerals, and I've forgotten what it actually means. So I think we're on number 25. It's an absolute pleasure to have you all here. We've sold out of boxes, and we've had some people going to their local bottle shops to pick up some cans so that they can join in. So we should have a really good, busy show. I can see everyone in the comments already. That's great. Bradley, how are we feeling?
Yeah, I'm all right, mate. I've just noticed. I think I've trimmed my facial hair a bit strangely, so I'm now just fixated on that side there, which looks like I've cut it too short. But apart from that, I'm all right. Yeah, can't complain.
Good. That was not the answer I expected, but I appreciate that you're just checking yourself out while I'm doing the intro. So please do put your comments about whether Brad's overcut half of his moustache in the comments right away. That's the most pressing concern, I think. I'll be going through the comments right now, and we'll spend about half an hour catching up and working out what we're going to be doing tonight, and then we'll be bringing Sienna and Claire from Pressure Drop on about 8:30, depending on how long Brad and I manage to procrastinate for. Obviously, the most important question is the drinking order. So we're starting on Pale Fire. I say starting, I've started, but I'll top that up a little bit.
Do you know what, mate? This never disappoints, the Pale Fire. I always enjoy it.
I absolutely love this beer. It wasn't a Eureka beer, but it was a beer that I drank a lot of when I first started. It was also, I don't know if you remember, it was the beer that we all got very drunk on at my leaving do from Jamie Oliver. Top 10 hangovers of my life, the one after that at the Old Fountain. But yeah, it's a beautiful beer that's been there, since almost the start of the London brewing revolution. We'll get into that and the story of Pressure Drop, but I love it. I absolutely love this beer. A brilliant, nowadays we'd see it as like a mountain style. It's like somewhere between East and West. But back then it was just a kind of juicy American pale.
I think that's the nice thing, isn't it? It's a happy medium. It's got a little bit of softness, but it's just got that bit of that Westy sort of punchiness to it.
A bit crisper. As usual, we're doing emojis for these beers, so I've become a real beer geek. Like, not even beer geek, just school geek, pushing them back up. We always do emojis for the tasting notes. Here I've picked out pine and orange. I wasn't sure about orange, but I had a limited palette to work with. What fruit would you have chosen, Bradley?
Mango.
Sweeter, yeah. Yeah, maybe. But we've got more mango, many mangoes to come this evening. So I thought I'd enhance the pithiness that there is.
It's definitely pithiness. It's a lesser mango beer of a mango sort of beer lineup, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Right, before we dive into the comments and say hello to everybody, just addressing the elephant in the room, which is on, come on, Jonny, this side. Yes. It's on this side of me. It gets mirrored. It's very confusing. So this arrived about a week ago from YouTube. It's too bright. There we go.
There you go.
We got our silver plaque, which is very, very exciting. And hopefully one will soon be on the way to Bradley as well, so we both get one.
Amazing. That's all I've got to say. 100,000. Thank you, guys.
So we get a gold one of these when we get to 1 million. That, in theory, it took us 7 years to get to this. So it would take us... actually, I don't want to do the math. That'll be too bleak. A while. It'll be a while before we hit 1 million. But we're dead proud of that. And when we started the channel, we did not think we would get anywhere close to that. The original plan was just to get a free trip to New Zealand, wasn't it?
We still haven't managed that, but
we still haven't.
It was still a dastardly idea, and I'm still sticking with it.
I haven't told you this, but I did get offered a free trip to New Zealand.
No, I know that. You did tell me that.
Oh, I did tell you.
You couldn't go. I know you couldn't.
It's not awkward. Right, let's see what everybody's saying. Everyone's saying hello, basically. How polite of us all. And Ben's already shared the drinking order. Thank you. Tom's been looking forward to this all day. Me too, to be honest, especially after the rugby result. We'd love to know what you think of Pale Fire. So do put that down. Andy hasn't checked in since Glen Affric. That was a long time ago. That was last summer, wasn't it? I think.
Great beard, Andy.
That is a really strong beard and a great coat.
Great coat.
Ben says it's been too long. It's been nearly 2 months. We did a Christmas show and then we skipped January because I was on the wagon or off the wagon. So on the wagon if you're not drinking?
You're on the wagon if you're not drinking. You're off the wagon if you're drunk.
If you're on it, yeah. These are the idioms we should really know. Chris Kelly says, "Hey, from Anchor and Hops in Cheshire. Hello. Is that it's a bottle shop and tap room. If we're ever in the area, we'll swing by. I haven't heard of you guys." Jen says, "Congrats." Hello. I'd love to respond to that. If you give us about 2 hours, that's probably how we'll be talking. So
I love the sort of dual llama. Yeah, it is a llama, isn't it?
Yeah.
That was
it's like
in
cat dog, but llamas. I like it.
Yeah, I think was that in Doctor Dolittle, the original one? It was a push me, pull me, wasn't it? It was like a creature that had 2 fronts to it.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
There's a lot to think through in Doctor Dolittle. Talking animals and one with 2 heads, but only no, it still has 4 legs.
I'm pretty sure it's called a push me, pull me, unless I've mixed 2. It was like a 1950s film about zoo animals. I'm pretty sure it's Doctor Dolittle. Anyway,
there we go. Immediately off topic. Favorite Washington State beers and breweries. Oh boy, I've never been to Washington State. You've been through, haven't you, Bradley?
I don't believe I have.
I thought you did. Didn't you go from Canada down to California?
Yeah,
You've gone through.
I have. I'm trying to sort of remember. So Seattle's in Washington, isn't it?
Yes.
I only went to Seattle, really.
There would have been Red Hook. That was in Seattle.
Yeah.
What's the famous one? The famous trendy one? Great Divide.
Wasn't even aware of it at that time. I think I went pre-Craft Beer Channel. Or it was very early days.
I think it was early days, yeah. We weren't travelling. I remember being jealous that you were going. When we were in California, we had some Great Divide beers at the Rate Beer Best Festival back in 2016. The last one, when they'd already been sold to AB InBev and people didn't know yet. There you go. That was a great video. That one, we were at a beer festival and trying to do like the best beers at the festival, and I was so hungover. I think I'd been ill multiple times that morning, and just wasn't into it, even though it had 100 of the best breweries in the same room. The things we do to ourselves. Is Pale Fire the brewery or the beer name? I bet Sienna and Claire get that all the time. Pressure Drop is the brewery, Pale Fire is the beer. I'll let them explain how often that happens when they join us a little bit later. Best day of my life, rugby celebrating. Are you Scottish, Barry? Is that why you're loving today? Brent is brewing a Pliny the Elder clone. That's exciting. I've just bought a book by Mitch Steele, who was the head brewer of Stone Brewing for a long time and now runs one called New Realm. And I bought his IPA book, and it's full of recipes of all like these hype breweries that I've been Googling forever to get hold of, and they're just there in a book. Buy books, people. Buy books from great authors.
So Mitch Steele, did he steal the recipes, or were they?
No, it's spelled differently, but yeah, I don't think he's a thief. I think he had permission. It wouldn't be the perfect crime to release a book with all these secret recipes and put your name on the front.
No.
Probably not. Craft beer from Portland, some of the best in the world. I'm sure that's true, and one day we will be able to prove it by going.
I went to Portland years ago on the same trip, and I loved it. I thought it was awesome. What was I went to Voodoo Donuts, which was incredible.
They're everywhere now, aren't they? I think they're a chain.
Voodoo Donuts.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've been to one in Austin, Texas, maybe. I want to say.
Wow. Well, at that point, there was only one of them. I can't remember. No, it wasn't in Hawthorne. Can't remember where it was. But the building was glittery. The whole building had glitter sprayed all over it. It was amazing. They did like donuts the shape of like famous people and penises and all sorts of things. I had a bacon flavour donut with bacon on top.
I'm going to say a bacon flavour penis there. But a donut. Right. Good. Oh, crikey. The comments are flying in. I've just managed to accidentally skip one. If you're in Portland, hit me up. See, this is something, once we start traveling again, now that we've grown a little bit during lockdown, it might be really nice. We might be able to actually have sort of proper meetups, like in the cities that we go to and all meet up. So definitely, if we ever make it to Portland, we'll make an announcement and see who's up for a beer for sure. Where's the one I was trying to hit? There we go. You do realise you'll have to do these evenings forever. You guys are the new night out at the pub. I'm hoping the pubs are going to open maybe May, June time, but rest assured, so long as they're not, we'll keep doing these and probably afterwards because they're a hell of a lot of fun.
About your glasses, Jonny.
There's no...
You copied me, didn't you, mate? That's why I'm very wonky tonight. I don't know why I'm so wonky.
See, I copied my wife, actually. Even though she told me to buy these ones, like I sent her a load of pictures going which ones, and she chose these. And then I got back and she accused me of copying her. But also, yeah, I think I have copied you a bit.
I mean, mine they're basically identical, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. That's kind of embarrassing.
It's all good.
It's all, yeah, I mean, if you look good, you look good,
Your style, definitely.
What have we got? What have we got? Your favourite 20th century craft beer? 20th century craft beer. Oh, okay. So if we're talking like modern, oh my God, that's a question. That's a great question for Sienna and Claire as well. We'll save that one. Luke, we'll come back to you. We'll have a think, but I'll put that to the others when they come live as well, because that's a great question. Next collaboration with the brewery. Currently we can't travel, so we're not doing any collaborations for the next couple of coming months, but we collaborate every time we do a homebrew video. So we've got one hopefully lined up with one of the best breweries in the world, one of the most hyped breweries in the world, probably around May, June time. I can't announce it yet in case they don't end up going, yeah, let's do this. But in a couple of weeks, we do have one with Siren coming out to celebrate 100. I got it wrong that time. 100,000 subscribers. We're doing a big old brew with Siren, big old homebrew recipe that'll be out in 2 weeks. Siren is the next one we're doing. We also have Glenafric, the metric ton beer that you mentioned there. We got a cease and desist from Tunnock in the end, which was, we were too close to the line. I thought we might sneak under it, but but no, the lawyers got in touch. We have a barrel-aged version of that coming out in March time, we're hoping. Again, that's related to COVID. We'll have to see, because we want to do some kind of physical release where we can meet people and chat about it for sure. Favorite lager outside Pilsner or Cow? Brothers?
Cow.
This is great TV. Did you freeze there, Brad?
Yeah, pretty much. My brain froze. My brain's been frozen for the last few days. Augustina, I mean, does that count? I suppose that's pretty.
Of course it counts.
That's pretty fit. I mean, I enjoy, as I've said multiple times, I should be wearing an Augustina hat the amount I'm hyping it.
Yeah, they don't really do marketing, but if they did, we'd be tapping them up. What about Notch, Brothers?
Huh?
What about Notch?
Oh, yeah, Notch is pretty good stuff too, I suppose. I like Stateside, it's got to be the best. Oh, we've had a super chat slide into our
super chat. Let's dive into that. If you don't know Notch, we've got an amazing video about them. Just search for it in the Google bar, in the YouTube bar. It's the best lager outside the Czech Republic by a country mile. They have a beer called the Standard that's modelled on Pilsner Urquell, but using... I'm trying to think which hop they use. They don't use SARS. They use something different. Here we go. Super chat. If I can ever get back to London, hopefully, and hope to finally get to the experiment, enjoy the Verdant and Pressure Drop goodness. It's a wonderful place to drink. And it's also, even during lockdown, it's been wonderful. The guy who runs it, Louis, the bar manager, is just the most positive, smiley person I've ever met. And sometimes I just go there just to see his smile.
Get a room.
I think I'm joking. Literally, I'm like, I'm going to go to Pressure Drop. I'm going to go to the experiment and get some beers from them because then I'll see Louis smile. Chiefs or Buccaneers, go Chiefs, or hashtag anyone but Brady. That's an NFL thing, Brad.
I guess as much. I was trying to think. Yeah, Buccaneers. Where are the Buccaneers from?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay, right. And what are the Chiefs?
Are in love. But
are the Chiefs also from around that way? Is that why the question, or are they playing against each other?
It's the Super Bowl tomorrow, Bradley.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course it is. I knew that. So is the Super Bowl going to have a big audience? Are they going to have a Mariah Carey type singer taking care of halftime as usual? Or
I think there will be some kind of halftime show, and I think there will possibly still be an audience as well, because Florida, but a much smaller audience with social distancing.
Yeah.
America's taken a slightly different approach to, say, the UK about sports games. Sports balls. But I'll be staying up to finish the Super Bowl. I did it last year while supporting the 49ers, so that was that didn't pan out for me, but it was good fun.
People, we've had quite a lot of people confirming that.
Confirming what? 25,000 people.
Yeah.
Wow. So I guess the stadium's 100,000, so like quarter capacity. That seems mad.
That is crazy, right? I mean, they've got a bottleneck out of there at some stage, and that is just Germ City.
There you go. The Craft Beer Channel disagrees with the idea of 25,000 people. Hi from the Netherlands. Agreed, anyone but Brady. How long is this on for tonight? Are you bored already? So about 2 hours. It will go until about 10:30. We will have the guests on till 10, and then if they want to stick around, there's an Ask Me Anything where we just basically go until either me or Brad fall asleep. So yeah, about 10:30 we'll be wrapping it up. I think we've got one little bit of business, and then I think it's time to bring Pressure Drop on and get on with the show. We've got loads of questions coming through, so we'll try to keep up. But if we don't, you can support the channel by using a super chat. So every time we get a super chat, you'll jump to the top of the queue and we can answer your question at the very next available opportunity. So yeah, if you feel missed, you can use that function, or we will try desperately to get to it. Don't spam us, but ask the question again at periodic interviews, and we will get to you. We promise, if we can. Right, okay. Let's get Sienna and Claire on. So Pressure Drop, Bradley. Before we do, tell me your memories of Pressure Drop. What do you love about that brewery?
We had a great time filming there. Not filming there, taking photographs there for our second book, which I don't know if you got on hand. I usually have them on hand, but I don't stay. So I got loads of photos of one of the founders squirreling up the side of some sort of storage unit and stuff. Looked very dangerous.
It did look dangerous.
That was obviously a few years ago now, and maybe health and safety. They're a much bigger concern now, obviously. So,
yeah, I don't think they have those shelvings now. Yeah. But yeah, I mean I think they moved just after this book was published.
Yeah,
the photos were slightly out of date, but I used to love going to that place. It's where the experiment is now, so you can see the scale that they've grown by. But yeah, Pressure Drop were really instrumental, I think, in the brewing scene right at the start, making lots of interesting beers, still making a lot of those beers, things like Cast Iron Billy, Wu Gang Chops the Tree, like beers that are very much not styles that are very hypey, but they still make them because they still love them, and really bring a bit more diversity to the styles that are brewed in London. So they're still a really important brewery, and about 2 or so years ago embraced the NEIPA train, and I think have been making absolutely beautiful New England beers, but still keeping that original focus on great traditional beers from all over the world. So we're really excited to be able to have Sienna and Claire on tonight. Let's bring them on and say hey. Hey, Claire.
Oh, hi.
Sienna. There we go. We got a little play underneath. How are you guys doing?
Good. Good. Watched England lose at rugby. Life is a good place.
Super happy for you, Claire. Super happy for you. It's your turn tomorrow. We'll see.
True. Very, very good timing on this, I think. Not feeling optimistic, but
There'll be people watching this tomorrow night once you've won or lost. So we'll see how this gamble pays off. So I guess we should start. It would be great to know just the story of Pressure Drop's founding and what you both do at the brewery.
Sure. So Pressure Drop started in 2012. Graham and Sam, who are two of the founders, they are old school friends. They both were kind of thinking they wanted to start something. They're really enjoying sort of the American craft beers that you were starting to see over here. And, there was Evan at the Colonel had started brewing in London, and Brewdog as well up in Scotland. They were sort of right at the beginning of their story as well. So they decided they wanted to seriously look into doing it themselves. So Graham took on a bit of work experience with London Fields Brewery. And when he was there, he met Ben, who became the third part of Pressure Drop. Ben had been doing engineering in Africa and had come back to live in the UK and just wanted to do something a bit different. He had, some money saved up from working in the mines. So he put it into the brewery as well. And they started, typical home brew in the garden shed, 3 dudes, that whole story. They moved to a railway arch, which is, as you said, where the experiment is now. But sort of from 2017, we moved up to Tottenham, and that's it. That's the story.
It's the classic story. You could ask any brewery that founded in like 2010 to 2013, 14.
Yeah, it's such a stereotype.
It's a running in-house joke. It's just the absolute craft beer cliche bingo that is our founding story. It's but turned out all right.
Yeah, I mean there are little twists in it. I think no other London brewery was coming out with a foraged Hefeweiss. They maybe didn't get that trend quite right at the start, but it's still a delicious beer. I remember speaking to them at I think the first ever London Craft Beer Festival. So that would have been 2013, or maybe it's the second one, 2014. That might have given the time. Hellfire, and they said that they were kind of surprised by how good it was.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit crazy with what you can do with a tiny piece of kit and, learning on the job. And that is definitely the sort of Pressure Drop way.
And I think
keep going and learn as we go.
We've got a bit of a swan vibe going on in that what you see often looks like kind of, I don't want to say more than the sum of its parts. I don't want to undersell us, but no, it's I think
it took me a while to figure out where you're going.
That's kind of like a swan, and it looks all beautiful, but then it's got the tiny legs going underneath, and Sienna does such an amazing job.
The tiny legs.
Yeah, being the tiny legs and making making us look really swish and whatever, and then actually we're just 8 nerds getting really excited when we see our beers anywhere that isn't London, the odd time where we send beer to export and can you believe people are drinking our beer in Copenhagen? That's so cool. It's one of these funny things. We've been around for a really long time, but we still get the same kind of kick out of seeing people enjoying our beers, or that kind of thing hasn't worn off yet, which is really nice.
It's wild. I was speaking to a beer blogger from Newcastle, I think, and he was asking me what my favorite beers were, and I said Pale Fire, and he was like, "Never heard of it." And this was last year.
Yeah.
It was like,
Yeah, well, it's funny. You were saying there, like, do people call it pressure drop or pale fire? And it's like, I've often had people be like, oh, well, I always assumed you were American because it says American Pale Ale on the front. And we knew so little about you that, like, we just assumed that you were, like, some Swiss import. It's like, nah.
oh, you put the vibe right, because Swiss American imports can sell for quite the price. So whack up your prices and embrace it. Just like, yeah, we're an American brewery.
Yeah. £10, please.
So actually, before we move on, because I want to bring up a story, one of my favorite stories about Pressure Drop, which is the bizarre fact that you were so popular with tourists coming through that you even had to put Asian language onto your sign for takeaway bottles for a year or two. Was that could you near Burberry or something?
Yeah. So where the experiment is now, when we were there, it wasn't the like sort of developer area. Like they're trying to turn it into a sort of more shishi neighborhood. But back then it was metal fabricators, storage units for off licenses and mechanics and body shops.
Garages and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. And so we were the only like production or brewery, and the developers deemed us cool enough to stick around when they turfed everyone else out. But the way the first part of that development was a bit further down the road was Burberry. There's like a Pringle. There's a bunch of designer outlet shops. And if you've been in Hackney Central, it's pretty rough and ready. And coming down Bohemia Place with all the sort of, there'd be burnt out cars and the garages, and we'd get these tourists walking past who'd been directed down Bohemia Place instead of along the main road by Google Maps, and just being like trying to get to Burberry. So we had a sign like local beer in Japanese and Chinese.
They're so scared walking down the alleyway. They're like,
a bit of Dutch courage. Keep going.
Yeah. In our little shop.
Before we move on to the first sort of seasonal beer that we're going to go through, it'd be great. Just tell us a little bit about the recipe of Pale Fire, and it's still by far your biggest beer, right? It must be a huge amount of your production.
Yeah,
definitely.
It would clock in at, I want to say 60% is the number that's kind of jumping to my mind, but it might be lower than that now.
Maybe a little lower now.
Yeah. But I'm thinking of like when we were selling more of it in draft as well, which has kind of been like a non-entity in the last 12 months. But it is kind of like the beer that like, it's I don't want to say interchangeable with kind of Pressure Drop and Pale Fire, kind of like just go hand in hand, and it's like, oh, you're that brewery. And it's also like we've seen a lot of iterations in how we approach like our portfolio of beer, for example, and like how we want to approach that and talk about that. But Pale Fire is the one thing that's kind of absolutely hung on in there in one shape or another. And it's definitely had its ups and downs. Again, when you're a brewery of our size, sometimes like you can't people are like, oh, I remember having this in the summer of 2015, and people are bringing that kind of like happy memory to it, which is lovely. But like, unfortunately, memory is the one tasting note that is the hardest to recreate. And I think moving to the new site kind of it's definitely a process to try and get it back to being like the beer that people really, really love. But now it's genuinely like better than ever. So you've got some Mosaic and Amarillo in there, which are our kind of like go-to hops or for a really long time. We've got like a few of the beers that we're going to look at today have some of our like new faves. It's as you said in the introduction, it's this lovely like in between of being juicy but also really clean and still like kind of crisp, refreshing vibes.
Talking of great refreshing vibes, should we do what Andy Topham is suggesting and get this Pilsner in the glass?
Yeah, please.
Brad, you're being uncharacteristically quiet.
Yeah, I'm just getting totally sidetracked by all the amazing John Carpenter comments going on. Faye's got an incredible T-shirt on, which is getting so much love. There's a lot of film fans. Some of them are even called film fan as their user. Phil. Yeah. There's loads of John Carpenter fans in the house. It's much appreciated.
Well,
so
if you have eyes and a heart, how can you not be a John Carpenter fan? Frankly, right. So
what I like about John Carpenter is that he writes everything, directs it, does the music.
Yeah.
Well, shebang. He's like a Peter Jackson character, you know.
Yeah. Plays the theme tune, writes the theme tune.
That's what I was trying to think of. The Little Britain. Yeah. Is that Little Britain that's from? I can't even remember.
Yeah, I think it is, yeah.
It is.
Write the theme tune. Literally. Yeah, it's great stuff.
Right. Tell me about Pilsner. So it always seems that you guys release them at the start of the year.
Yeah, because January is the time you want to crack into a really crisp lager. It's really overdone, the whole lager in the sun thing. No, I mean the running thing with that is that, you know, I think if you speak to a lot of brewers, they'll tell you that lagers are their dream style. And because there's you know, it's that cliche of there's nowhere to hide behind a lager, because it has to be, everything has to work, or it just isn't doing what it says on the tin. And then 2 years ago, or was it 2018, Sienna?
And it was 2018-19, so we released it for the first time January 2019.
Yeah. And the thinking was we were clocking off for Christmas holidays, and you've got to try and think January is going to be a quiet month anyway. How are you going to approach it? And it just felt like this kind of window of opportunity for the guys to live their dreams and make this lager, and we could make it exactly how we wanted it without kind of necessarily compromising other tank time that we might need for the usual IPAs and pale ales and stuff. So I do think that, so it is 6 weeks in tank, which I think you can taste, and I think comes across in that super clean taste to it. I'm gonna have some. This is my favorite. This is one of my favorite beers we do.
Claire loves Great Heights. So when you're packaging beer, I'm sure everybody knows this or in it, but if you don't, there's always rejects on the packaging line, which are totally fine to drink. It might be that they're not full enough or too full or got dropped on the ground. So there's always in our cold room a big stack of Starfies, we call them. And Claire is a Great Heights Starfie hoarder. She will hide them. She will hide them around the building.
So in my house.
I use brioche quite a lot as a tasting note on lager, and that's got exactly that. It's a slightly creamy, thick white bread thing that's just feels my soul.
I think there's a little bit more bitterness on this batch than there has been in previous ones. So this summer we did cave to, the man and made a summer batch. And that was great. And then, but I think this one has a little touch more bit, which is no bad thing. And yeah, lagers are a funny thing. I can always sympathize with people. If you're going into a bottle shop and they've got all these I've even got Mr. Augustiner here in the background, and you go in and you see all these amazing classic Czech or German Pilsners. Are you necessarily going to pick up a lager by a brewery best known for pales and IPAs? And obviously in my mind, yes, you should. And that's how we keep doing it. We want people to just get that chance to try it, but very much understand if you're making your choice that you might hum and haw over the lager, but like I hope that this is one that we have put the time into, and that comes across.
I'm gonna be honest here, I've never tried this before, mainly because I always just go for like what you're known for. But that is, it gets one of them. That's amazing.
Whoa! The equivalent of a Paul handshake in Bake Off.
That's seriously good. I will be buying more of these. I think that's super great. I can't wait to drink that in the summertime. If we're allowed to.
And it's also one. Go on, Tim.
I was just going to say, I love the artwork on this one. This is a Tottenham local artist called Natsuko Seki. And it's just so, I can't get my camera right, just so beautiful and ethereal.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of lagers have very like classic labels, especially even from like new funky breweries, because they want to emulate that traditional style, but we have tried to go the opposite for that. So this lager has this sort of fantasy environment on the label. We did one that had a great big burger on it. Our most recent release is spaghetti.
Yeah.
You know, why not?
Yeah.
Do something crazy for a lager. It deserves it.
Yeah. I have such good memories of this beer. It's like back in the days when, even when we could be at the brewery, it's like, again, that thing of like drinking from the tank to like see how it's doing, and like losing evenings with like doing some tastings, and suddenly you're standing around a stainless going, it's still good on the fifth go.
It's been picked up in the comments now. I was about to raise it, but love the can tasting notes. Did you write that one, Claire? Best lager ever.
That was Graham and I think we were kind of, because again with Pressure Drop we're always a little bit we're always worried about like overdoing it. Like we're not great on the old hype, and we just kind of thought, because this was this beer that like was completely not like most of our other beers, we thought, and it's not a classic lager label, and we figured why not like blow our own trumpets a little bit on it and like have a bit of fun with the tasting notes. And with those tasting, like you'll see hopefully throughout a few of them, it's like, why take yourself too seriously? Like you can still give the idea of a beer without being completely like down the line.
Yep. I think it's stunning. My only criticism would be I feel like it's a Hellas more than a Pilsner. Kind of honeyed sweetness, soft bitterness.
That's entirely fair, yeah.
Absolutely incredible.
Jonny, I like the question from Chris King there. How do you name your beers? They seem quite random sometimes.
Name them?
Yeah.
They are.
I missed.
Well, sometimes it will. Like we have a Slack. We have a Slack channel that we dedicate to naming beers, and everyone just, whenever something pops into their head, will ping something on there. And so we always have like a running list of random stuff. Sometimes some of it is very bad and will never be on a beer name.
Yeah.
But some of it's good and kind of weird and random, but there's no like reason to it. Like it's not like, oh, every beer is named after a literary reference or song or anything. It's just,
I think Alligator
and whatever
is my favorite.
Well, that one actually has some rhyme and reason to it, because the town of Simcoe, which is the main hop in that beer, is Simcoe hops. The town of Simcoe is famous for a guy that invented a sort of amphibious boat called an alligator tugboat.
Wow.
So that one actually like makes sense.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That one's what's his name? Gold Tooth or whatever, isn't it? The artist.
Sweet Tooth.
Oh yeah.
Sweet Tooth, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, poor Sienna, when she's doing the labels, has to kind of trawl through the beer name Slack channel, and like, because often you'll see like a few suggestions around 11 o'clock at night that like Oven Mitt was one that just never really made it across the line.
You remember it? That's got to be a good sign.
But do you really want to drink a pint of oven mitt?
People are putting their beers in the oven these days, aren't they? Supposedly. So some people
don't reference that bizarre meme that happened. It feels like there's quite a lot of music referenced in your beer names. Like Pressure Drop is a brewery. So, like Great Heights, is that a Death Cab reference?
No. It was like, and Sam, who's one of the owners and founders, it's now like a running joke how any name you suggest, he will then like try and break down into its smallest form. So I think possibly someone did suggest such Great Heights. That might have been an original name, and perhaps, yeah, the Death Cab for Cutie song is in their mind, but I don't think the bosses would have been familiar with it. But yeah, and I mean, but to be honest, even with the Pressure Drop name thing, I think people sometimes not give it more credit, but when I've been told the story, it is literally they were scrolling through someone's Spotify or something. It was just like
Spotify didn't exist.
Yeah, yeah, they're iPod Touch, just going, So I think people sometimes credit us with like a bit more like musical nous than we possibly have.
I think it got to that point where there was so many suggestions, and one of them was Smith and Fettel, which, can you imagine Smith and Fettel if that was our name? The original homebrew bottles have Smith and Fettel on the label, but it was like all the names. By the time you're going through so many different names, they all just sound terrible, and you kind of just pick one.
Yeah.
I wish
there is
more
another Pressure
romantic than that. Yeah.
Right. So clearly, you picked a popular name.
Yeah. I mean, it works.
Yeah.
There's an old sort of T-Tone song called Pressure Drop, isn't there? That's like a classic 70s sort of.
Well,
yeah.
That's great.
Toots and the Maytals.
Toots and the Maytals, and then Such Great Heights. That's the Postal Service song.
Postal Service.
Yeah. Jonny, you led me up the wrong path.
Sorry, I knew it, but I didn't want to be a dick and try and like. If I corrected it while you were talking, it would look like I was correcting you. But it's okay because Matt Sullivan was also hot on the heels of bad emo knowledge.
Well, that was sides now, and
Postal Service was two guys, wasn't it? One was on one coast of America, one was on the other coast, and they used to like send stuff to each other.
They sent the tapes, and one of them was the lead singer of Death Cab for Cutie.
That's
the link.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I only know that song from being in the OC. So
it's a great album. The whole thing is great. Birdie did a wonderful cover of the song after that, "The District Sleeps Alone Tonight." Look it up. Birdie, "District Sleeps Alone Tonight."
Sorry, who did that, Jonny? I totally missed who you said covered it.
Birdie.
Birdie?
Yeah, she's a solo singer-songwriter. She's amazing.
Right. I love that song. That's a great song.
You wait till you hear the cover, my friend. It'll break you.
Wow.
Joshua, yes, I'm wearing an Alchemist t-shirt because all of my Craft Beer Channel t-shirts are in the wash. So I went for the next best thing. Brad, you never wear the shirt you got off of John Kimmich.
No, I mean, it's a bowling shirt, mate, to be honest.
Yeah, you hate bowling, don't you?
I don't really like bowling, so I haven't found that many opportunities to wear it. And it also... It has a whiff of Guy Fieri about it, so
a bowling shirt is a lot, and they're often like a polyester blend that like
flammable, definitely flammable.
Just really like 20 minutes in and they are honking. So I'm definitely on that one. Like, you think that it's going to be like a really cute look, and
It's a lot, though. It's a lot. I mean, I'm a guy that wears sort of quite jazzy stuff, but it's a lot. It's a strong look, and
on the back of it is this as well, so it's quite
massive.
It's quite a declaration.
I mean, and if you will insist on wearing it with the black and white shades, that's really do something as well. So.
I think I'm in trouble because I'm just drinking all of the beer that we've had so far. It's so good.
That is the idea.
But like, I'm not leaving you, Johnny. I'm just finishing it. Whoa.
So yeah, well, that is. We're starting on a high with my two favorite Pressure Drop beers. So, and I'm really glad people are enjoying this. And yeah, as I said, I always understand a bit of apprehension around like UK craft lagers, but yeah, I think people are learning a lot and they're getting really, really good. Like my pals up in, I'm gonna do a shout out for my pals up in Edinburgh, the New Barns guys. If anyone is looking for some really awesome lagers, they are doing some top stuff.
We put them in our breweries to watch in 2021, and then they got voted second best new brewery in the world this year by Rate Beer.
I know.
By Rate Beer.
I'm calling them my friends here because by this time next year they're going to be too cool to talk to me. So.
Oh no, never.
But it's on record now, Claire. Don't worry.
We're friends.
Yeah. Before we move on to our next beer, I wanted to, while we were talking about the branding and the names and stuff, I also wanted to talk about your social. Is that you, Sienna?
Yes, it is.
It's one of my favorite accounts, partly because of all the Pomeranians that come out when you release. Welcome to the internet.
Welcome to the internet.
Fucking amazing name.
That was a thing, right? It's the dog meme that you were basing that beer on, right?
Well, it's like there is a few accounts on the internet that sort of have these motivational dogs. So it wasn't the dog meme, but it was more like you can see these memes where it's dogs just telling you to like do your best and like be good and like just, and there's cats as well and other animals, but the dog ones are like the best. And there's a specific dog, a Shiba Inu called Tofu-chan, who was the main inspiration.
I love the voice of Tofu-chan.
Yeah.
That's the guy. The guy's Japanese friend does the voice of Tofu-chan.
It's just so cute and like wholesome and nice.
Inspirational quotes. I love Tofu-chan.
You know, who wouldn't want a dog just telling you to be, you know?
I mean, if dogs could talk, it would be endless positive
hype girl
reinforcement.
Guy.
Right? It's just like, you are the best thing I've ever seen, owner.
Yeah.
You got this. You know?
Yeah, and they're just like so wholesome and beautiful and great. And I was like, maybe I could put my own dog on this label, and I did on the back.
And now he's famous.
I mean, he was famous before now. Famous in his own heart. That's the main thing.
Does he love bread as much as the can claims?
He does.
Yeah. Good. I'm glad I've addressed that, because every time you tweet it, I tweet you back, and I needed you to know that I get positive reinforcement from tweeting you making a poster and a social about a dog that I've never met.
It's just fun. And we got like our friends to send their dogs in, and I put them in all of the posts. So they're real dogs that I did in the lead up to that beer releasing. So it was just cute.
My plan this year is to get a dog. If I got a dog and it looks positive, is there a chance it could end up on a can?
I mean, always. There's always a chance.
Okay.
Yeah, dog Johnny. We're starting an inspirational dog channel on Instagram and YouTube where we're just going to voice over the dog. Like Tofu-chan, like Tika the
You can do the voice, Brad.
Is that dog? Can I do Tofu-chan's voice?
No. I feel like that might be a little bit dubious. I mean, can you do my dog's voice for the YouTube?
Yeah. I'd love to do your dog's voice. Yeah.
I mean, on videos where you can't be there, you can still be there, because I'll bring the dog in and you'll be the voice. You'll be like, Johnny, don't add that many hops to that red IPA.
And it is going to come with more authority from your dog than it will from me.
I'm more likely to listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but Jonny, I do want to like second what you were saying about like our social media and like how the beers are looking, to reference to that point earlier where the beers do look polished and amazing, and that is all down to, hey, I got it right, all down to Sienna and like the work that she puts, like, and it's all DIY, and like she's there with like her glitter sticks and like craft paper and like, you know, lighting, and you know, it's really like, you know, she's got an incredible like DIY kind of can do anything attitude, and like I think that comes across in here, doesn't how they look and how we talk about them. So yeah, Sienna's a powerhouse, man.
The Instagram account is amazing. It's got this wonderful like 60s psychedelia meets like 1980s food styling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I just wanted to do something that was a bit different from the average, like beer in a glass in a pub, beer in a glass in the sun, beer in the glass on a table, like just something that wasn't what everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you certainly got that, and I think it's good. I love it. I love it.
We should probably move on to another beer, but I'm sure we'll touch on it as we go on. But is the struggle for pink at Pressure Drop? It's a constant civil war against the color pink. That
it's not though. Like there's just a running joke that everyone thinks I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Are you wearing a what colour's that top?
This is lavender. This is like purple.
You know purple comes under that umbrella. You know that full well.
I think you got two pink items of clothing, but never mind. I don't want to get involved in Pressure Drop politics.
Yeah, but that is and as I said, we'll chat about it more as we get to the dip up. But it is something that we kind of consciously saw dip as a space where we could have lots of fun and be silly. You know, they're silly beers. So like
a pink lager probably wouldn't sell so well. You've got enough barriers to deal with. Oh wait,
it's pretty pink.
It's pink.
See, now you're saying it. It is a battle for pink. Right. Okay. Yeah. Let's move on to the next beer. Ugh. Can I just say, I have an awesome cool box, and courtesy of Brad now, it's customized.
Oh man, your cool box is better than my cool box.
It is cooler. What's that? Is that
water on the table?
Sienna, you gotta keep chill. You gotta keep chill in this Waitrose lunchbox.
Right. So tell me about Parachute. Who wants to tell me about Parachute?
I think that me, and it's Sienna, or is it you? We have divided.
I don't mind. I can talk a little bit about it if you like.
Yeah, I feel like I've been jibber jabbering.
So right. So this is actually the very first New England style beer that we ever made. Back when no one was really making New England style beers, and then there was breweries that were only making New England style beers. It was kind of like this weird period in time where breweries who weren't part of that New England only kind of wave were a bit apprehensive about doing it, I guess. And we were in that boat. Like we were very like, oh, should we do it? Is it like just jumping on the train? Or, you know, there was a lot of conversation about it.
So Pressure Drop though, isn't it, Sienna?
So Pressure Drop. We were just like, should we do this? That's a good quote there. But yeah, so this was the first one. We actually had Verdant had been in touch with us about doing a collaboration, and so we were like, yeah, let's do a collaboration with Verdant. Fuck yeah. Excuse my language.
We don't get any advertising on these videos anyway.
And so we were like, okay, great, we're going to do a collab with Verdant. They had they were still fairly new at that time. Maybe it'd been going for like a year or a bit more. And we were like, okay, well, we've got to do a New England beer before we do a collaboration with Verdant. It can't be our first time doing it. And so Ben and the brewers sort of did loads of research. Nice. And spoke to
very, very similar. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to hide that.
It is a scarf.
Graham's daughter's blanket.
It's my favourite blanket. Sorry, Sienna.
That's okay. But yeah, so they did loads of research, spoke to the guys, everyone. We knew who was making this style, and sort of our main takeaway was that the big thing we wanted to focus on was water chemistry and getting that sort of really soft mouthfeel, because that for us is the biggest, or at that time was the biggest difference between sort of more West Coast style brewing and this style, was getting that water profile correct. And I think, the fact that they did all that sort of stuff, and, we've refined the recipe over the years since, of course. But that was sort of where we were headed with it. That soft mouthfeel, soft fruit is all about soft for this beer.
It was an interesting time. I remember, it seems hilarious now, but like 2016, brewers thinking it was just a craze, just a trend, like black IPA would just go. And you didn't want to be seen as trend chasing, which I think held people back. Like, everyone was like, oh, it's because it's so murky and it's lazy brewing. And I think all brewers knew it wasn't lazy brewing. Like, they're like, I wish I could get my beer to play that hazy, even at that point. And it just stuck around. And I mean, I'm trying to remember, I remember drinking, because the first beer it was a collab, wasn't it, with Verdant, called The Experiment.
Yeah, it was called The Experiment Requires That You Continue, which is a reference to that psychological test where they made students slightly torture each other.
Sanford, is it?
Something like that, yeah.
The comments.
The comments will know exactly where it was from.
I'm learning quickly.
Yes.
But I remember back when I was first working in the pub, when I'd first come over to London, and like serving more beers on cask, and you'd get the cask lads that would come in and do the full like up to the light test, and like you'd have your work cut out kind of. And I know cask is a whole other story, but like it was kind of just that learning of like the difference between murk and hay. Like you can tell when a beer is like bright and lovely and and flavorful compared to like the dregs of the cask.
It's quite interesting how tastes have changed even from this beer. Like I say, this is all about soft, but tasting this now compared to the New England style beers that we're making now, it's actually got almost like quite a pronounced bitter finish, which at that time was nothing compared, it was still like, oh my God, this is so soft. Whereas now it doesn't even feel like it's that, because everyone's palates, including our own, have progressed into like a different sort of realm for this style.
Yeah. And you've seen it with other styles as well. Like, I've noticed that a lot of breweries now, you'll get like a New England water profile, so soft and pillowy, on styles like porters, because they're like, well, it's a fruity style, it should have a rich velvety feeling. Like, well, porters were still generally quite dry. They didn't have the rose character of a stout, but so it's interesting how New England IPA has completely changed the palates across different styles as well. And like thin is now like the most cutting insult you can say.
Yeah.
We've got some questions in the comments. Just before we get to them, I just wondered how that shift in New England style brewing has affected like the sales and interest in your West Coast style. So like Alligator Tugboat, does it get the same kind of reception as the hazy stuff still?
I mean, that particular beer has like almost cult status, and I think because it's a sort of collaboration with a very prolific street artist, and that can is so amazing, and it's that fluorescent pink and the shiny gold tooth. It's just such a beautiful thing to see on a shelf. It has that sort of wow factor, but some of our like less known West Coast, like Rocks, Rivers, Trees, which I think is like a phenomenal beer. They definitely get less hype.
I mean, I think you do a very good job of, because I guess you're seeing, Sienna, more of it. So excuse me, I didn't say at the beginning, but like I look after the trade side of things, I guess. So working with like pubs, shops, wholesalers, etc. So Sienna, you're seeing a lot more of the like end consumer, to use a gross word, but like, you know, reaction. Whereas, yeah, I think you do a really good job of like, so stuff like you kind of the feedback I get is always like, oh, I'm getting people in all the time asking for West Coast stuff, and you know that like they're certainly not like sitting on our shelves for like a really long time.
Yeah.
But like, and I guess it's a tricky thing, isn't it, as well? Like if people start thinking this is what pressure drop beers should taste like, plus this is what I think West Coast IPAs should taste like, sometimes you can get kind of caught in the crosshair slightly. But
yeah,
it's interesting that you say like what pressure drop beers should taste like, because I think there is a bit of a misconception about pressure drop and the beers that we produce, and it may have surprised some of you who have bought the case to see that it's not just New England IPAs. Because we do get here a lot that, you know, that's sort of the style that we do, but in terms of the makeup of what we make, we really, you know, try and do a bit of everything.
And you didn't do New England IPA for a long time. Like, I consider you latecomers to it.
Yeah.
And the only reason like you're known as that now is because you were brilliant at it, and it was, all the beers were delicious. Still, like, you did an American Pale Ale recently, Capital Gains or something.
Capital Ring.
West Coast.
Is that a West Coast?
No,
well, that might not be the right one. I had a lovely in a green can West Coast American Pale, I thought.
Oh, that was amazing. It was the robot label, Sienna.
Robot label.
Oh, just say it. No.
This is how many beers breweries have to make now. I mean, that was
it's our own fault.
It was last summer I drank it. It was really good.
Yeah, it was the start of the first lockdown. I remember. Yeah. So that the artist who did that label is a woodcut artist from America. I can't remember the name of it.
It was a smashing beer. Guys, talk amongst yourselves. I am going to find...
We did 50 new beers last week. Someone in the comments tell us what the beer name was.
I am going to find this.
We'll find it. Let's jump into the comments.
Right, Sienna, was it?
No, that's recent. I mean, I can definitely just look it up.
You look it up.
I'm on
it. So people want to know what I'm going to call my dog. I have no idea. If you guys have great ideas, I probably won't call it Pilsner. Just being in a park shouting that might make me look like more of an alcoholic than I even am.
Call it drink so you can be like Father Jack.
Drink!
Careful now.
DIY It 13. We have had the Eastie Boys IPA with Earl Grey tea. It's very common over here in the UK because one of the founders now lives here and they produce it here, and it's a lovely beer. Is it Gunnamata?
Yeah,
that's the Earl Grey one. People are asking where Jeff is.
I've locked her out, although I do need a wee, so she'll probably come in as I
let her in. Let's replace you with your cat.
Just Begin Again. Was that the name?
Just Begin Again.
Just Begin Again.
That's the red one with the snake.
I drank that too. I drank all the Pressure Drop beers. Somebody says I should just call the dog Brad. I'm not sure my wife will be
The Land Beyond.
Land Beyond, was it?
Land Beyond, maybe.
I think it was Land Beyond, Johnny.
Either way, my point was you still make incredible West Coast beers, and people should always pick them up and treat them differently to the New England styles.
Oh yeah, I mean that one was a stunner, and we're very aware of that. I think we always try and keep some in the roster. Every 3 months or so, Ben will send like a provisional lineup of ideas, and there'll always be a couple of West Coast in there. One that I'd really like to revisit, and this is solely based on I loved the label so much. I don't know if it was our most successful West Coast IPA, was Escape from the West Coast. I just loved that label so much. It had this like 70s B-movie horror label over a coastal scene from the west coast of the US. And I think maybe Ben wasn't 100% happy with how it turned out, but I really want to do that one again.
I'd love to do, because I took that photo and I have loads more, so I'd love to do like another one in that style. Yeah.
Chris King is asking, so I think we've covered how Verdant led. Well, have we? How Verdant led to the bar, and what the relationship is ongoing.
Yeah, well, we did that collaboration. They were up at the brewery, and we were having a beer merchants in Hackney Wick, and they were saying, oh, you know, we are looking for a space in London where we can do some distribution, so we can sell our beer direct in London and maybe have a little bar or shop or whatever. And at that point in time, we'd had the unit where our old brewery was in Bohemia Place is sort of laying dormant for about a year. It wasn't really costing us that much in rent. And it was like, you know, we could probably do something very cool with it at some point. So we'll just hang on to it for now. And, you know, we showed them it the next day, and the idea sort of just developed from there that we take it on as this shared space.
And I mean, sorry, before I ask that, we've just had we've got 2 super chats going on. That's not a question, but thank you very much, Josh.
I think it's to stop, or, you know.
Is that Josh from the Hop Locker? I mean, I think it might be.
No, I think that's a different Josh, isn't it?
Is it?
I
get my job.
Standing orders and understand them. Standing
orders.
That's a Jackie Weaver thing.
Jackie Weaver buzz.
See, we're no good at cultural references on the Craft Beer channel. We're about a decade behind, so I am aware of that video.
I had the most surreal, well, not the most surreal day, but like on Friday morning, I'd taken a half day, and like I walked over to Stratford to give blood, so I wasn't on my phone. I was podcasting, so I just wasn't on the internet from, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning till 1 o'clock, and I just opened Twitter and I was like, I don't know what's happening. Who are these people? What is a Jackie Weaver?
Jackie Weaver, a brewery we don't know about.
Yeah. It's just like, I was like, oh, this is the world now. We really need to get back to pubs, but only when it's safe.
Once they're safe. Important question, pub related. Favorite beer snacks?
Bacon fries.
Yeah, agreed. Moving on.
I understand the argument that the flavor is too much, but frankly, there's a nostalgia and flavor element there that it's always going to be a bacon fry.
Bacon fries of bacon fries.
Yeah.
I love how oily they are. You know, it's frazzle is pretty. It's greasy, but it's flaky. Whereas a bacon fry is I mean, it's almost bacon.
Something about the crumbs and grease of bacon fries on my fingers. I can taste the lukewarm Coca-Cola, and I'm like a child again, sitting in the corner of a pub, behaving myself. And like, you know, it just takes me back in a way, you know, and that's what I want for my beer snack.
Sienna, what have you got? What's your favorite beer snack?
I mean, I'm not from the UK, so my sort of or Europe.
Neither am I, Sienna.
I know.
We've talked about this so many times.
So my experience is very different. I'm from Australia, so if you were going to the pub, I would say the common beer snack would be like chips and aioli, which is kind of lame and sounds a bit like poach.
People don't associate Australia with aioli.
Chips and aioli is the classic. You know, you're just having a beer, have some chips and aioli. It's delicious. But I will say my favorite beer snack, and I guess this is to do with like experiences, like when it probably would have been about 2012, maybe. We went to Copenhagen and Michaela had just opened their first bar, and it was like a really big deal to go there. It was like so cute and dark, and they had just like literally a sausage with a knife on a board, and you just cut into this sausage, and it was delicious. And very expensive, and that, you know, when it was like, if you're bringing like a whole memory together. That said, I probably wouldn't have beer snacks in the pub.
You're so foreign.
I know.
My favourite Irish beer snack is beef and onion potatoes. I think they're excellent.
Oh,
beef? That's a new one. Do you mean smoky bacon?
No, we onion.
Beef and onion. I don't mean smoky bacon.
I was like, are you sure you don't mean bacon?
I'm gonna have to send off a quick email to the Irish Embassy on this, because I never heard of an onion potato in May.
That there's two different kinds of potatoes. There's a Northern Irish and a proper Irish potato.
Yeah.
So there's two different.
I don't want to cause an international incident on your channel, but yellow Nordy potatoes are trash for trash people.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Hang on a minute.
Look, I'm a King Crisps girl, you know. I'm left field, so you know. Frankly, King Crisp, that's when you're going deep dive into the Irish crisp world, which is a fascinating world to be in. And again, I think another chat to have.
Wow. I mean, I drink in an Irish pub in New Cross sometimes called Marquis of Gransby, which is a good pub. It's a good and they have the brown beef and onion potatoes. I don't even know if they're the Irish or
I think that might be a sop to my northern brethren. I'm not familiar with their work. It's smoky bacon, cheese and onion, salt and vinegar. Salt and vinegar is blue, as it should be, because it's from the sea. It's salt.
For me, Neil P is on the money.
I've never heard the argument before. Salt and vinegar should be blue because blue is the colour of the sea.
And we invented them. Let's also be clear. Let's also not gloss over that Ireland invented flavoured crisps. So what I say in this chat is kind of
tell me that history. You invented flavoured crisps.
Mr. Tato, who has his own theme park, invented flavoured crisps. Now I think it might have been a thing where the flavourings. It's Sam not saying anything. Sam Lonsdale is one of our brewers, gang.
Sam.
Hi, Sam.
I'll flash that up as well because you missed your opportunity. You could have said anything.
I know.
Ireland didn't invent flavoured crisps or something.
But I like how he's just going for silence and letting us know that he's watching.
That is a power play, isn't it? Blimey.
Yeah.
It is. It's a bold move. I like it.
You're claiming crisps, flavoured crisps for Ireland. You're claiming that.
Yeah. I believe back in the day there was like a sachet in the bag, and you had to open the sachet and then shake it up. But cheese and onion, I believe it was like one of the only good things to happen in Ireland in the 1950s. So.
Wow.
I'm intrigued by this comment from Matt L. Bacon fries. Put quavers in that packet.
Yeah, like the sort of surf and turf. Sort of. It's not really surf and turf, actually, is it? It's quavers are pure cheese, aren't they?
Unless the pig women.
Yeah, it's ham and cheese, isn't it? It's like
it's like a croque monsieur.
It's the Welsh beer snack of choice.
Yeah. Well.
Right. I mean, we have started. I can't keep up with these comments.
Woo! Snack
Your
wars.
comment that asks favourite beer, best beer snack.
Is it Arlene Foster, and is she mad with me about what I said about Northern Ireland? I'm real sorry, Arlene.
Lords aren't happy about it. I don't know about the rest of them. So, I mean, if you take one thing away from this, it's that Ireland invented the flavoured crisp. I mean, we need to go to that theme park.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. I think there's
Tickets right now.
there's a world of content to be made at Tato Land, and I really hope it's surviving. So.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've talked about that. We have actually asked for free tickets as influencers to Tato. We also tried the same with
Hershey Land, mate.
Neither of them. But,
I mean, I haven't been, so.
hey, there's the bowling shirt.
Oh, nice! Get it on. Get it on you.
I think I'm a bit too fat for it now, which is very upsetting. Hang on, give us a sec. Ugh. It's black on black. You can't really see it, to be honest.
Well, we're going full screen, brothers.
Okay, there you go. Look, it's got a lovely.
Oh, nice.
Oh, hang on, this is very confusing to try and.
There's your back.
Oh my god! There we go. There we go.
And the back, Brad. There it is.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Rifle. Did I get a super chat for that? No. Barbecue pop chips.
Okay.
Yeah, they're pretty good actually, Ben.
They're okay. They're okay.
Pop chips I am scarred for life about, because when I first came over and didn't know what to do with my life, and all my friends were like working in media, so I thought media was something I should do, and I did this internship and I had no money, and they got free pop chips at this office. And there would be days when all I would eat would be like 2 packets of pop chips. So I've never been able to taste them since.
Now they're part of the same investment group as what owns a quarter of Brewdog now.
Now for you.
Yeah, so you can have vitamin water and pop chips and Brewdog beer and be funding the same fucker over in America.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fact checked?
So say again, Brad?
They actually own a quarter of it. Is that fact checked?
Yeah. They own 24.9%, 0.1% lower than the threshold, still be an American craft brewery.
Wow.
I forget the name of the investment company. But
It's some letters.
It's some letters and then like partners.
To slightly move away from any sort of derogatory Brewdog chat, back onto the snacks.
Yeah.
These are not very good, actually, but I've got those snacks here.
They're awful.
I'll put those back. There we go. Everyone can see them.
Again, I'd like to draw everyone's attention to an Irish snack called a chipstick.
Oh my god.
You familiar with a chipstick?
That's a great crisp. The salt and vinegar. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
It's still salty and vinegary enough to like find cuts in your mouth that you didn't know.
And like you best hope you do not have a single ulcer or cut in your mouth, or you will suffer.
It'll burn holes.
When I do go back to I try and bring crisps back to educate the children at the brewery. But yeah, I haven't been able to go home in ages, so I don't think they've even tried hot lips yet. But yeah, the Irish crisp world is a next level.
I mean,
you cheeky.
Quite literally, we do have one lined up with Brewdog. We're not being too disparaging here. We're just saying if you're going to put fiercely independent on your cans, I'll let you finish that sentence. We'll ask them that question on the live show. Shall we move on to the next beer?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Which is the next beer?
Future Sunshine.
Has anybody
we're
had
going future? Interesting.
Walker's Poppables? Has anybody had those before we move?
Walker's Poppable?
Yeah, Walker's Poppable. It's like
Oh yeah.
it's almost like a net in shape. The format of it is like 2 nets that have. You don't like it? You're not a fan?
No.
I think they're amazing. I think they're an evolution in crisp technology.
I think they've overthought the crisp by making it a
Too
3D.
much flavoring, I thought.
Oh,
It's too intense.
you have too much flavouring. It's like surely that's a wrong statement.
What is the
I would
flavour?
say that is my one beef, like with crisps over here, compared to back home. Everything is like way too flavored. Like salt and vinegar, like you say, will hurt your mouth. Whereas back home, it's just a nice little. Ooh.
Head out to Spain and try
like,
some of their ham-on crisps. They are next level flavour. Like we're getting ripped off in the UK here with flavour.
I would just have a plain crisp if I'm totally honest, especially
already
from
salted.
what's available here.
Do you know what
That's what I mean, like salted.
Yeah, no, I'm here talking a big nationalist chat here about crisps, but like, frankly, discovering ready salted when I moved to the UK was a game. Like a good ready salted crisp, stand by it, especially as a sandwich accompaniment.
It's the same as loving lager. If you're a beer geek, it's like sometimes I just love a ready salted.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with it. A good ready salted is some of the best crisp.
Yeah,
we do have in Australia these little like biscuit crackers that are very heavily flavored, and I'm there for that. They're called shapes.
I feel like an Australian.
They come in bacon or pizza or chicken crimpy, and they are so good. But it's like a little biscuit cracker thing.
Yeah.
What's a chicken crimpy?
And they are chicken crimpy is chicken flavor, but the edge of it is crimped, so it's chicken crimpy.
Oh, it's crimped.
And the tagline is flavor you can see.
That's not the point of flavor, ever.
But the ads would have like little people having a party wearing like red and green costumes, and then it would zoom out, and they were the flavor on the pizza crisps.
Wow.
Sorry, guys, we've got some super chats coming in that I think we need to address. The first one's from Lords. Anyone tried seaweed with beer? That's probably a good match.
Oh, I love those seaweed. Like, you can get this seaweed that's got like tempura on one side and really salty and spicy. I love those.
And then we another passive question.
Stop being weird. Stop.
You're going to be weird. Up it to 50 quid, Sam.
Yeah, gonna keep talking.
So I've lost it with the comments. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm really trying to keep up, but they're coming in thick and fast. This is an important comment to put out there. Should we get back to the beer?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, Future Sunshine. Tell me about your sour program. What's your philosophy around sours?
Well, we first started doing sours ages ago. And we usually kind of stick. Most of the sours that we do are in that sort of light berlinerweisse vibe. But this is certainly one of the more heavily fruited. It's got lactose in. It's really thick body. There is just so much fruit in this beer. And it's quite a bit stronger than a lot of the ones that we usually do. We make less of this style just because you would drink less 6.5% beer as opposed to like a nice spritzy 3.8% raspberry number. But I really like it. Just like super fruity. It just does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, this is my first time trying it actually. Again, the downside. No, I've not been up at the brewery.
This is the second time we've made it.
Oh well, no, this is my first time trying this batch. Yeah, and I'm just again, though it's actually got that bit more body, I think, than last year's. Which I think was something we wanted it to be that. I'm still struggling.
We love him.
Yeah.
Oh, there is
now
so
he's just
many
flavors like a lunatic. Shut this man down.
I would just say at the office, I should mention, like, especially since COVID, we get like an Ocado shop in, and usually, like, but pre-COVID, it would just be like bread and cheese and stuff to make your own lunch. Yeah. You know, we just always have stuff to make food at work. But since COVID, it's everything individually wrapped, everything in individual packets, and they just keep getting these humongous bags of quavers.
Yeah.
I was in on Thursday, and there was about 50 packets of Quavers in the kitchen.
Yeah.
For 4 people.
Yeah, they're creatures of habit. But yeah, this is tasting fantastic. This has got I think they've definitely matched with this. It's got all the fruit and just that bit of extra body.
I've had, I think, 2 comments saying it feels a little bit salty. There's no salt. It's just, is it the depth of the sourness and the kind of funky? Wait, what are the fruits again?
It's peach, passion fruit, and pineapple. PPP.
Yeah, maybe it's the pineapple bite that just makes it feel.
It almost smells sort of like it's got some sort of salinity somehow. Is that what it is?
I think
in the comments, can you tell us, is there salt in this? I wouldn't be surprised
I
if there
don't
is
think
salt.
so. No.
But they just haven't put Goza on the label. But I would have to double check. I don't have the brew sheet. But let's see if Sam Lonsdale lets us know.
Figures out the chat to not.
I was going to say, you can figure it out.
I'm nearly certain. I don't remember there ever being any conversation about it. But actually, I'm going to roll back because sometimes
it's tough because this is the rebrew. The first time we brewed it was quite a while ago, so the story is a bit out of my brain.
Yeah, but I think we'd had there was a bit of an evolution in terms of sours, and thank you so much about Donatella Disco Night because we also really love that beer, and I don't know if there's any cool. Well, I mean, my cool story about it is that I never get to name any of the beers because my ideas are terrible. But this one, Donatella's Disco Night, I did actually manage to kind of work on a name with Sienna, so I'm pretty proud about that.
Who's Donatella?
No, actually, well, I wanted to call it De Fontaine's Disco Night after a pizza shop in Dublin that, like, if you go in there late at night, they just like pump tunes and like everyone's just in there like off their faces getting pizza. But we reckon that might be a bit too niche, and Sienna and I were just sending Italian sounding D names to each other for like 5 minutes. And then we came up with Donatella's Disco Night. So I'm quite pleased with that one. But no, I love the look of it. It was a great beer. But to go back to the Future Sunshine, I think we did have a bit of an evolution in terms of sours because we were starting out, as Sienna said, with these 3.8% kettle sours. We were doing very much seasonal, like a raspberry in summer and a damson in autumn, winter, and a blackberry in autumn. So sea buckthorn in winter. Just straight down the line, seasonal sours, 3.8 kettle sours, and then we just wanted to like beef them up a little bit. So we started, kind of inspired by some of the like smoothie style sour. Would that be kind of how you describe them? And we had ones like Espadrille and Promenade that were still sour but a little bit stronger and that little bit more creaminess, and really playing like they had like, what was that lovely one Sienna had? Was it Promenade or Espadrille that had the vanilla in there?
That's Promenade.
Yuzu and vanilla, and it was like, what am I drinking? But it was really fun, and we were really chuffed. So this is kind of like a little extra escalation, and then I think nearly a year ago we did our Mickler Brew Pub London collab. That was again escalating a little bit. It must have been because I'm
no, because it was in lockdown. It was May.
Was it?
Yeah, it was full like hot summer.
Now for you. But yeah, so then that was like problematically thick, shall we say. But this is a nice in between those kind of like lactose sours and that mega thick imperial sour, if you want to call it that we did with Mickler Brew Pub guys, which was a fantastic, an amazing beer. It was a bit of a head spinner.
Yeah, I think we're going to try and do something similar that actually works, because we lost so much beer when we tried to package that. It was 8%, I think, coconut and mango imperial sour with lactose, and it was just so thick that we just couldn't get it into pack. But we're going to, I think, hopefully, fingers crossed, the next couple of months, try and do something similar. So similar flavor profile, similar thickness, but just not as insane.
May I excuse myself quickly, guys? I just need to run to the bath.
Of course. It's an occupational hazard. I think this is absolutely beautiful. Like, I think a lot of the time, brewers, I wouldn't say they use lactose to balance out something getting too sour, but they want to add some sweetness back in. And this is not too sour, and then you've got the lactose, which means we get body, we get sweetness, we get stickiness. That is so good with the passion fruit, peach, pineapple thing, and it's 2 acidic fruits as well. So balancing that probably takes some even-handedness, maybe, with the puree additions. And I think it's beautiful. Like, even with these silly beers, there needs to be a semblance of understanding of flavors, a slightly more chefy approach. And as we lack that with these big beers, and I'm always a little bit worried about triple fruited styles, but this is great. I love it. I could drink it like a New England IPA, which isn't true of many of these. And everybody's loving them in the comments as well.
I'm glad.
There we go. Incredibly well balanced for a sour.
I think that is something that the guys in the brew house really do try to, even when we do the, like, you know, New England styles that are like super juicy, like, we always try and get a touch of bitterness on the finish, just so it's not heavy and cloying in the palate. Like, always trying to work with perception of sweetness, so things aren't too sickly, but have that idea of sweetness, whether it's through fruit flavor or something like vanilla. So you can achieve that balance without weighing things down too much.
It's super,
sorry, Brad.
it's super tasty. It reminds me of Haribo Tang Fastic, in that it's quite a kind of flavor, but like super moreish, real tang to it, like amazing.
There's also this one, which I think sounds like an insult, but it's probably a compliment. Because lilt is delicious, and there's nothing wrong with. I mean, it's not flat lilt. I think it's thick lilt.
Thick, yeah.
Thick lilt.
Lilt. Thick lilt. That sounds delicious to me.
I reckon thick lilt. If I was to make a marketing campaign for thick lilt, I would. Is it grapefruit lilt, or is it pineapple, or is it both?
I think it's a mix, isn't it?
It's totally tropical.
It's
right up you. Making it thick. I was going to ask you actually, Claire. What was the name of the pizza establishment?
D Fontaine's.
Okay, so Fontaine's DC is an Irish brand, isn't it?
Correct. I've often wondered this, and I do that like a middle-aged woman thing, and I do call them the D Fontaines. Even though that is not what they are called. So I don't know if that's a reference.
Surely Fontaine's DC, like, and then the pizza restaurant's called what is it? Fontaine. Like, it's
called D Fontaine's, and it's amazing. Like, it's one of the few like you can buy like proper big. Like, if you're in, I've gotten them in like New York and Montreal. You know, just like. They're not like cool sour slices. They're just solid big slices, and I love it.
New York.
So I assume that it is a reference to D Fontaine. Also, Fontaine did get it from there, but I couldn't speak. I couldn't confirm or deny that on behalf of
get some Fontaine love in the comments here.
Oh yeah.
Do you know? And I feel like I feel like a traitor to my nation. It's like I'm not the biggest. And actually, did you see Fontaine's DC did Jimmy Fallon a few weeks ago? And if anyone knows the like absolutely iconic Irish pub here in Stoke Newington, the Al Shillelagh, it's also a Roscommon pub. That's key. They actually recorded it there. Like, they did a socially distant recording of their most recent single for Jimmy Fallon from this pub in Stoke Newington, which I was real excited about.
Wow.
I don't understand this question.
Yes, it is. This is, oh God, this bloody thing. This is IFK Göteborg. So as you can see, we've got so much football merch in the house. So when I travel places to go to beer festivals and things, I'll often like pick up a football pennant. So this comes from doing Gothenburg Beer and Whiskey. Because there's if anyone knows the Swedish fast food chain, Max, there's one of those out by the stadium. So I went and got that there. I can't claim to know to be a dyed in the wool fan or anything, but yeah.
What about Leicester City's chances this year, Claire?
We're hoping for himself is hoping for at least a Champions League spot. I think winning it again would be a bit too much to ask, but yeah.
Who do you reckon is going to win it then?
I mean, by all accounts, it seems to be City's to lose. So, which is a super boring answer, but unfortunately, that's where we're at.
We're all bored, but don't worry, Ben isn't.
I have to agree with Ben. Yeah, he's
I like that
That's very sweet.
Ben hasn't said like two of the most. He said two of the more, which kind of quite good.
That's really kind, Ben. Thank you.
Ben's a nice
I'll
dude.
take it.
Yeah, you take more. Jonny turning into Gary Lineker. You got the chin thing. I was doing that on purpose.
Nice.
He always leans forward.
We actually have, I'm really not joking about the level of football merch in this house. We do have a half a meter size statue of a footballer in blue that is called Gary, who lives on our mantelpiece. I can go and get Gary if you want to see it.
Yeah, Gary.
All right. All right.
We'll start demanding it soon.
He's not used to being moved.
For those playing at home, Claire's fiance is a professional illustrator who exclusively illustrates football content.
Oh,
amazing. It's all modelled on Gary.
Gary is wearing his Leicester City scarf. I'm going to remove it. And then...
very long shorts.
Very long. He's classic.
He's like from the 1920s or something.
No, he's not. Look at this very authentically written Gary Lineker on the back.
All down, well over to the right hand side or whatever. Very good.
I'm gonna replace Gary because I don't think I'm even allowed to really.
You write Lineker on back with a Tipex there. Was that you guys?
Yeah, that was us.
Lovely.
Because we're grown adults in our 30s.
I've only recently discovered that I know nothing about football, by the way, so I don't know what you're on about, any of you people. But I've recently discovered. Sienna, maybe you don't either. I just discovered that Gary Lineker's got a brother called Wayne Lineker, who is like a really weird-looking dude.
Wayne's a problematic character. Yeah,
he's sort of like handsome in a kind of silverback gorilla kind of way. He's a weird man. He's really weird. Like I've watched him on this Celebs Go Dating thing, and he's just like deeply odd, like around women and stuff. Like really odd. Okay.
Yeah, I mean there was. I think Wayne Lineker on the internet is a internet K-hole you might not want to go down, but I think he some kind of odd dating ad was found like on his Tinder bio was something like women in their 20s.
We've emailed Taters, but we've also emailed Walkers multiple times.
Well, I was also worried that it was going to be like crisps and like soccer chat. And the one time, like this time you've had two women on, it suddenly turned into the most bants. Sorry about that.
Have you got you've got that amazing Music by John Carpenter t-shirt. Have you got the equally amazing yellow t-shirt which says filmed by Quentin Tarantino? Or directed by Quentin Tarantino, sorry.
I'm not the biggest Tarantino head.
No, that's fair enough.
I couldn't be a movie buff, but I am very, of all my dumb nerdy shirts, I always like to make sure that like I have the emotional connection. I have earned the right to wear them. So
have you ever been to the Prince Charles film Beer and Pizza Nights, where they play like John Carpenter movies and you get a bit of pizza and get a beer?
Done this.
Yeah, they're really good.
Last time I went to Prince Charles. Jaws is my favorite movie, and that was the last time I was there for a screening of Jaws, which is just. Was that
a 35mm like proper film, or was it digital? Do you know? Or
again, not a buff, not a movie buff. So I mean, I just never seen it on a big screen before, so I was just excited to be honest.
Awesome. I love Prince Charles Cinema. I think anyone who doesn't know who they are, they're like a sort of independent cinema in Leicester Square that somehow always remained, and it just plays like cult movies, so like stuff. It's brilliant. Yeah.
It's the real kind of place where, like, especially being in lockdown, you're like, that is when I'm like, I'm going to try and support like independent cinemas, and there's so little like it's still independent in London city centre, and the Prince Charles, you can get a nice beer, kick back, and they always have just fun stuff. I can't wait to get back.
Oof. So I also need a wee, which would be the worst decision ever to leave you on a
Come on. I don't actually. You leave us together. It's just going to be us talking about Drag Race and all of
Okay, I'm watching Drag Race.
How good is UK Drag Race this year?
It's pretty good. I've only just watched last year's, and I thought it was really great. Bag of Chips is awesome, and the Vivian is also obviously amazing. So,
but this year's queens are like phenomenal.
I like
production quality's gone up. It's just great.
Bimini Bombuli, I think, is my favorite.
Bimini Bombulash.
Bimini Bombulash.
Yeah. Great stuff.
Yeah.
Johnny's like, what have I walked into?
No, I watched Drag Race. Don't worry, I was well up on it. Don't worry about it. It's wonderful lockdown content. It's so different to the world that we live in, and so full of wonderful drama. I love it.
Yeah.
I count several drag queens as good friends, actually.
Oh, I'm very jealous.
From
me too.
Days. Yeah.
The one time, and again, I'm kind of like the worst kind of Drag Race viewer, because I didn't go to enough live shows when I could. But the one time, do you know the Metropolis there on Cambridge Heath?
Of course.
We went there for a friend of mine's birthday, and up at the top there's the tiki bar, and there was just this drag queen there in her full like latex get up, and I just insisted on buying her drinks and telling her she was the most beautiful woman in the world. And I still think of her now, and I wish I could remember who she wasn't performing, she was just there being amazing.
Did you just, aside from the latex clad drag queen, did you say there's a tiki bar above a cinema?
No, the Metropolis, the nightclub / dance theatre.
That's not my part of London, so I don't know. So they've got a tiki bar. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's like 3 stories.
It's like
usually
strip club, part gay bar.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
It really is. It was one of the last times I stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning in a nightclub. So I have very fond memories. Oh my God, Damien! What a good question.
That's a good one.
Isn't there always like some sort of way that you can like, what's your stripper name? What's your like porn star name? Is there a drag? I feel like a drag
maybe there
name is much more creative.
Oh, I'm terrible at a pun anyway. Oh, Damien, I'm gonna swing back on this.
Yes, suggestions welcome.
Yeah,
maybe name us in the meantime.
Yeah.
But I found a what would your drag name be?
Again, like I'm not even allowed to name beers. Never mind, give myself a drag name.
You can't be trusted.
I'm so bad. But I just go for the thing.
Got a super chat. Sorry, loving the crisp and football chat. Crisp football and drag, like you get your money's worth. Are you participating in any Tottenham Haringey community projects? If so, where can I find out about them?
Well, we have done some stuff with the local food bank, but with lockdown, with COVID, it's kind of died off a little bit on the local front just because we can't do too much in person. We did a lot of that stuff through the tap room.
Yeah.
I know we've done a bunch of stuff with the name eludes me, which I'm kicking myself, but the group who are trying to keep the canal and the River Lee clean. Oh, yes. So litter picks and things like that, which is really cute. And certainly once we get that tap room back up and running again, we'll be doing a lot more of those things. But the project that we are working on at the moment that we're the most excited about is our Pay It Forward program, which we did for the first time during the first lockdown. And we were able to do that really successfully. So we're repeating it this year. And basically, if you buy £70 worth of beer on the web shop, on Pressure Drop web shop, you get free shipping, bonus. And we'll also donate £25 worth of credit to a pub, bar, restaurant, or live music venue of your choosing. You can put it in the order notes, so that they can help get back on their feet when the doors open, or reduce the bill that they have if they have outstanding invoices with us. We basically just want to do what we can to help people stay at home. So if they don't want to have to go out to buy beer from a supermarket or a shop, they can just order it direct to their door. But then also still feel like they're supporting the pubs that we hope get to stay open. Yeah. Because it's really tough. And I think so that's what we're working on at the moment, and it's been going really well. When we did it the first time, we gave out over £10,000 worth of credits, and we're hoping to do that again. So yeah.
And I think it was really telling, you know, in that first lockdown, like so many of the nominations were local, you know, and which was really nice to kind of see that like people have this connection with us as London brewery, a North London brewery, a Tottenham brewery, and also that they care about the like independent scene in Tottenham, you know, and people are out there kind of trying to just trying to do something nice, and like, you know, and people love Craving Coffee and the High Cross and Blue Coats and like all these independent venues just wanted to, you know, do something different. And oh gosh, now I'm worried because I feel like I shouldn't have named. Now I've probably forgotten to name.
Oh, don't worry about it. But the program is open nationally, so if you're, you know, from the tippy top of Scotland all the way down to the coast down south, you know, you have a pub that might stock our beer, then give us a shout when you place an order.
There you go. So we're going to move on to the next beer in just a second. That next beer I've lost.
It's Escape the City.
It's Escape the City. I've lost all my banners. Where have my banners gone? Hey, no, everyone relax. Everyone relax. There it is.
It's really hard.
Just before we do, we've got a super chat in the midst of the drag and then charity chat from Victoria Moynihan, who says they want us to invite you on our fabled trip to Belgium, a beer bus trip.
Yes.
Where we're just going to pile drunks on a bus and go around Belgium's best breweries and lambic breweries.
Guilty beer confession. Never been to Belgium.
Ooh.
Take me to Belgium, please.
Brad, get out the weird screen again.
I didn't probably see that the first time.
Well then, Claire, you're driving the bus. No, wait, then you can't.
Oh, that's a terrible idea.
It doesn't have a license. That would be bad.
Okay, not driving. You're at the front, saying, "Are we there yet?"
Yeah.
Right. So, Escape the City. tell us about it, and I'll pick out some more comments that I've missed while we were chatting.
So, Escape the City is, how do I put this? So, when did we first put this out? Like, it must have been March last year, May, April, around that time. But there was this hop that was making the rounds in the US called Strata, and it was fabled. Everyone was going crazy online about how delicious this Strata hop was. And, it was very hard to get here, nigh on impossible. And we kept saying to Ben, can we get some Strata? Can we get some Strata? I think Daya maybe got their hands on some, maybe Cloudwater, and a few of the guys had tried their Strata beers, and we're just blown away with the flavor. And we finally got our hands on some from Brookhouse Hops, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could be mistaken. Yes, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, and this one is Cryo Citra. So that's the super pungent, extreme high potency Citra, and this Strata hop. And it has this like beautiful, sweaty, armpity, delicious quality to it. It's like, I mean, I think I put a funky. I'll read to you what I put on the back. It was love at first smell when we first got our hands on a bag of Strata. It's a grapefruit sensation, so wrong it's right, a dank hop of dreams. Pair it with Citra and you're onto a winner. That's so wrong it's right is like, when you smell a nice armpit, like that.
Erogenous sort of zone.
Yeah. Ooh, that's tip top.
Brad's going to enjoy this more than perhaps he should.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it's got that kind of like Mosaic has a slightly
very in that vein
sweatiness to it as well.
Strata
has it. It's overripe is probably the nicest way of describing it.
Well, I think there's a sweetness with
I like a bit gross though.
Has it over the Mosaic a little bit. Yeah.
And this, I'll just point out this label and the name. This beer sort of launched right around the start of actual lockdown. I think it was almost that first week, like totally unplanned. Like we had the label in stock for a month beforehand. But it was almost serendipitous that it was called Escape the City, and we were all sitting in our lounge rooms like wanting to get out. But this, the two images inside the label, this is a collaboration label, I would guess you would say, between myself. So I do a lot of the design for most of the labels, I would say. But the photos on this are actually taken by our experiment manager, Louis.
Louis!
Yeah. So it's a nice little, like, a cute little collab there.
Yeah.
They are in Austria.
Louis a big, assuming Louis a big, like, mountain biker. Was he out there mountain biking?
I don't know if he was biking, but he was certainly just enjoying the wilderness.
Yeah. As he did. Louis grew up on a boat. He's
lovely. He used to. Yeah. He went to uni for photography, and he used to photograph Indian weddings. And then we worked together at Brewdog way back in the day, and I've kind of dragged him along with me ever since.
Yeah, you were talking about him earlier. He is a prince among men. Louis is.
He's one of my favorite humans in hospitality.
I think a lot of people would say that.
Yeah, it's worth going to the experiment. If you're actually going for the Louis experience.
Also, I'm assuming this is about Louis himself, or maybe about the beer. I'm not quite sure. But best armpits I've ever smelt, says Miley.
Applicable both ways.
It does work both ways.
Yeah.
Strata's this really amazing hop because it's can be super funky and sweaty, but also incredibly juicy. But also, every Strata beer I've ever had is so smooth and juicy on the actual palate. that funk does not translate to what you actually end up tasting. It's bizarre.
Yeah. And that's why I'm interested when you said there, Jonny, like about Mosaic. And in some ways, I don't want to say Strata's a more successful Mosaic. I think that will be unfair. But like, I do think it seems to take a lot of what's good about Mosaic and sheds the kind of more vegetal kind of vibe that you get off Mosaic sometimes.
It's almost like a maybe. Well, I don't know. Strata's a new hop, but it feels a little bit safer because Mosaic sometimes is, all out juicy fruit with a bit of dampness. Sometimes it is, sucks in your gym bag. And
you do get like massive variation year on year, though. It's so like there was quite a long time where Nelson Sauvin was just like, meh. You know, and then it comes back and it's like all of a sudden it's juicy and grapey and delicious again.
Yeah.
It is a natural product. So especially when it's like specific to one farm or specific to one region, it's definitely like year on year variation.
Yeah. Like Nelson Sauvin was the hop that like was the first hop that I think I kind of ever learned to recognize, and I'm still dog shit at recognizing hops, full confession. But like but also like that I knew I liked. Like so that would have been what 2013, I guess, 2014, I would have started working at the Jolly Butchers, and like I knew that when something said Nelson Sauvin that I was gonna like it, that it would have that like fruity. So I always think like growing up in Ireland, like with so much lead, like I kind of have a bit of a sweet palate anyway. I didn't really. Even Guinness isn't that, but like it isn't that bitter. But like I was always drawn to kind of sweeter things because I was used to drinking like lagers. And then Nelson Sauvin just dropped off a cliff, and I was really sad about it. But now it's kind of back, and I'm happy.
Need to do Gesundheit.
It's something that we try to talk about a bit on the channel, and we recently did a video called 5 Things You Need to Know About Craft Beer. Mm-hmm. And one of the ones that didn't quite make the cut, but will in the second edition of that, is the idea. One of the big things that people say is like recipes. That beer's changed. It's not the beer it was. And what we want to talk about in that video is going to be probably your palate's changed quite a bit since then, which we've talked a bit about beers previously on this show. But also, you're using 4 natural products that change constantly. Your water's not the same all year round. Your yeast should be fairly consistent, but why not be? But the malt and the hops, they're seasonal products.
Completely.
So like people talk about Punk IPA, going back to BrewDog, changing all the time. It's like, there's a big dose of Nelson Sauvin in that. Nelson Sauvin's changing the whole time. So's Punk. And the same must be when you come around to your seasonal beers. Like if you've got an all Simcoe beer, it's going to taste different every year. Or
even Pale Fire. Yep. This is what we were saying at the beginning. Like it absolutely does change. Now look at it's not a beer that we want to be changing massively. We do want it to be consistent, but there are elements that can be out of our hands sometimes, So but thinking back
with something like that where it is a regularly produced beer, you do make tweaks. So like if the Amarillo isn't as punchy this year, you maybe increase the ratio of Amarillo to Mosaic just to sort of make it taste better. Like I think that's our main thing, is like it should taste as good as we can make it within that recipe, and you can tweak a little bit, but we're at the whims.
And like the work that goes into like getting things to kind of to do those tweaks, especially like again on the scale we're at, like sometimes it can take a few months because you're kind of, it takes that long to kind of work on it, I guess. But it is, everything's a bit of a work in progress, But thinking about that, got the lad earlier who said about like your favorite 20th century beer, and how
I was 11 at the end of the 20th century. Just
but I think that, I guess, because the thing is, my mind always goes to Goose IPA. So I'm conflating a couple of things here because that was the first craft beer I ever had in the Jolly Butchers, actually, but before I worked there. And my brother-in-law is Canadian, and he put one in front of me. And again, it was so sweet that I was like, this is great. But it was probably about 6 months old. And like, I loved it when I first got into beer. I loved really malty, biscuity beers because I couldn't handle anything with a shred of like bitterness. And I had to like build my way up to what I thought bitterness was. But like, yeah, that was kind of definitely my gateway beer. I to be honest, for my shame, beyond that, and Anchor Steam, the now controversial Anchor Steam, and Sierra Nevada, which is probably wins out over. But then again, I've not had a super fresh Goose Island that doesn't taste like a best bitter, a really malty best bitter.
It's so interesting, that whole period. So I got into beer in 2010.
Yeah.
So I probably had 2 years before good, fresh American Pale Ale was available. And I still thought...
before fresh stuff was available.
Sorry.
Sure.
Fresh American style.
Sure, right, yeah.
I mean, probably the first like English-made good American Pale Ale I had was probably Camden's.
Yeah.
And I didn't really drink that until I'd had lots of their hells. So I remember thinking that American beer tasted of caramel, cardboard, and a little bit of lemon. I was like, oh, it's interesting and I like it. Or Brooklyn, maybe, well, similar things. It wasn't as highly hopped, but that was what I thought craft beer tasted like until Gamma Ray, Camden Pale kicked off. Maybe Pressure Drop in 2013. Like Pale Fire was a revelation.
Oh,
yeah. It was
Punk
so...
IPA. I mean, give it dues.
Sorry, yeah,
Punk
you're totally
IPA.
right. Yeah, you're right. I don't drink those beers until a little way in because I was drinking. I mean, it just didn't appear in London at that time. Camden, Brewdog Camden opened in 2011-ish.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I moved here in 2011. I worked when I first moved here at Mason and Taylor in Shoreditch, and we had Punk IPA, we had Magic Rock, and we had Dark Star. Red Willow was one that was regularly available.
Yeah.
What was another one? There's a bunch that have since closed, obviously, but there really wasn't that much. Like Colonel. Oakham Citra, that was like the big. Remember Oakham Citra?
That's forgotten about in the craft beer story, isn't it? Like, and they're still the biggest size of Citra in the country.
Yeah,
like the biggest.
Is there anything? There's a few things more kind of like. No, I'm definitely wandering into hyperbole, but the excitement that I have when I go into a good cask pub and see that Oakham Citra's on, like that's a real like John Hughes fist in the air moment for sure for me. Yeah. But I guess is that a 20th century beer? I guess.
I have a question.
Ooh.
What is your favorite non-craft beer? Like big brewery, big beer.
Twist.
We've all got one.
Okay.
Mine is if I'm going worldwide, it's Heineken. It's just regular Heineken. It just slips on down. It's so easy to drink. Love it. And if I'm going Australian, it's the 4X Gold.
We never had 4X.
Oh my God, you're missing out. It is like 4%-ish something, and it just tastes like sunshine.
I know that it's one of the biggest videos ever done by Real Ale Guide, our friend from Barry, Simon Martin. So if you want to know about that beer, head over there. We'll open it to the chat. Everyone, we'd love to know your favourite beer. I think we need to exclude Pilsner Urquell from it.
No, No, I'm talking like macro,
Mine's IPA.
No, that's craft, mate.
That's craft. Like, come on, we're talking about like.
Come on, you know the
rules.
System.
We mean macro trash.
I'm gonna go.
Your guilty pleasure.
Didn't you say Guinness? Because I was going to say Guinness, probably.
I mean, I'm gonna lay down on.
I feel like that's a cheat as well, but I'll accept.
Guinness is the safe way.
I could try and pretend to be like, actually, I find Murphy's a much smoother brew. I'm not from Cork, so no one will believe that. And like Guinness it's an emotional state more than anything. And I've got such a love-hate relationship with it, because you go back to Ireland and you kind of feel like if you ever try and criticize Guinness, it's like slurring people's favorite uncle. It's like you're and I'm like, it's an enormous corporation. But if you ever say that, perhaps but it is fascinating thing about like how they have like wormed into the identity of a nation. You know, there's books to be written and films to be made, I'm sure, but like I mean, I've certainly drank more Guinness than I have craft beers in my life. So I'm gonna have to do you want, and then look at if we're gonna, Red Stripe is my other I used to, when I first moved over to London, my go-to beer was, the little stubbies of Red Stripe in the freezer.
Oh, you stuff.
Exactly. I know, they're really cool. I'd be like, I'd spend ages just being like, oh my god, they've only got the cans, so I have to go somewhere else to find the bottle.
That's like the beer equivalent of an early 20s girl who only smokes Vogue cigarettes.
Yeah, like I started smoking Lucky Strike because a guy in my favorite book smoked them. That's how much of a dickhead I was. So
it's definitely some of the coolest branding for a cigarette brand.
Yeah, they're also rank cigarettes, as are all cigarettes. But walking around Roscommon town trying to find Lucky Strike cigarettes.
What about you two?
Yes.
What beer?
Yeah.
I'm really sort of, I don't want to say this, but I'm sort of with Sienna in that like a stubby of Heineken, if it's real cold and it's real hot outside.
I love a can of Heineken in a glass with ice.
With ice? Bloody hell, yes. You've raised it. Raised the game there.
Whoa.
Surely it doesn't need any more water in it. It's pretty fucking watery.
I mean,
it makes it better.
My feelings on Heineken are
that's for sure.
I haven't even scrolled down to look at what the comments are, because I've got a question I want to ask, but I'm scared. I'm so scared about what comments I'm going to find here.
But God, do you not get that sweet, like so sweet Heineken?
Yeah, it's really sweet.
I don't know anymore. I just have it so cold.
Hold on, my teeth. It's well.
Everybody, please remember, we're coming back to Michael Rawling with a good question about why hops vary and comparisons to grapes, because that's an important craft question we should ask.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna dip my toe.
I missed it. Can you bring it back up again?
Oh no, we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Coming back to it. Yeah, this is mostly what I thought was going to be happening in the comments.
Oh dear.
Sienna, what have you done?
It's my guilty pleasure.
We should talk about the fact that
I like to make clear, like, if you go into an Irish pub, it's Smithwick's, Guinness, Heineken, Budweiser, which apparently people still drink that there. And I drank Heineken for years, and it is garbage, lads. It is.
We're not saying it's good. We're saying we can drink it.
I mean,
you have to. There are so many situations where you don't have options, and you have to pick something.
Yeah,
and I would pick Heineken.
This is a safe place. I respect your choices. Fully respect your choices. I'd also like to go to a time a pub in East London where I went and we were getting Guinness. It was during the World Cup, I think, and it was an old couple behind the bar, and they were adorable. But like tenants, yes, please. Let's talk about tenants shortly. And the owl lad just kept. He was like, I'm really sorry, I can't this Guinness, like, he's doing me a Guinness. He's like, just the head, I can't get it, but drink some of it and bring it back to me and I'll top it up. And this was in 2018. And he still was like, I don't know what's going on with this beer. Like, it's just so much head on it. So shout out to that guy. Moretti, love a Moretti. Love a Peroni, because I think I'm Sophia Loren. Love it.
Okay, one last. I'll give you one
Estrella,
last.
hang on. Estrella, when you're in Spain and it's boiling, Estrella Dam or a Dam Lemon on the street, 50 cents.
100%.
Has someone been cooling it in a sewer?
Can I change my answer almost? Can I change my answer to the throwdowns you get in France? The little tiny 350 ml guys that are like Radlers. Oh my goodness. In the supermarket.
Ooh.
I will say, I definitely embrace the shandy in later life.
Oh my god, shandies. Don't even tell me about shandies.
Yeah.
Okay, can I give you a craft shandy that will blow your mind?
Yeah, this is a good one.
Gang Chops the Tree, which is a Pressure Drop classic. It's a Forage Bay Hefeweizen. It's 3.8%. It's already very weak. But you mix that with a square root soda, a lemonade, or if they have they do like a citrus crush, which is multiple different types of citrus. That is the most craft shandy you will ever drink and is the most delicious thing you'll put in your mouth. Yeah. It's so good.
I have a couple of things to say. Firstly, yes, Sienna. Better than our video in which we essentially do the same thing. We did a shandy video where we put a square root with a lager, but then we put a ting with a Hefeweizen. I think we put lilt with Saison Dupont. We were just trying to piss
I'm still trying to persuade you.
And Duchesse du Bourgogne, what's the worst that can happen?
Exactly.
Like Diet Dr. Pepper. Boom.
No.
Anyway, second bar, aren't we, Johnny? A bar called Shandy Boys.
No, Bradley, you're doing it, and I don't know. I'll be elsewhere at the time.
Soho, it's going to go down a storm. It's going to be a summertime sensation. Shandy Boys.
I'm here for it. I'm here for a shandy.
Jonny, speak now or forever hold your peace.
I know, it feels a bit like that, doesn't it? So firstly, I do want to make clear, with no shade at Sienna, that Heineken are a horrible
shade the bitch. Shade.
I agree. But I just drink it with ice and it's nice.
There you go. But more importantly, we have a question that's related to that.
Hang on, what beer he would have?
Yeah,
that was my. Let's not move on from that.
Oh, which beer would I choose?
Yeah,
it's Beer d'Or.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's the little stubby French-made Tesco lagers.
Yeah, Beer d'Or. I allow it. Yeah.
I still drink it. Well, I used to still drink it when I got back to my parents because my dad he doesn't understand what my job is. That's understandable. But he also doesn't understand what beer is still, despite me growing up watching him drink Beer d'Or. And now they didn't bring it to the UK, so I'm going to have to go to Europe and bring it back for him.
Yeah. Can I have a shout out for my dad as well, who, again, rural Ireland will go to, like, and it's that thing again, and this ties into what we were talking about. It's this thing if they're like, well, I know you like your beers, so I went into the big Tesco and so I got you some ales, and it's just loads of 500 ml bottles. Full respect to them, but vibe of like heavy red ales and stuff. Dad, could I please just have a crispy Peroni, please? But like, love the effort of like, you know, I'm getting on your level.
Like, it counts until you have to drink it.
Yeah.
So related to the Heineken comment I made, is somebody asking a question which, it's a tricky question to ask, but I don't want to shy away from this. What's it like being next door to Beavertown? Has stuff changed?
Shall I answer the first part of this, and Claire you can then speak of your own experience? So when we first moved to Tottenham, it took us 3 years to find a site to make our expansion. It took a really long time. They had quite, they wanted to find the perfect place. So it had to be, easily accessible, that they weren't commuting long ways. The guys all sort of live in North London and, have little kids. So they didn't want to have to be commuting for an hour a day out to Enfield or somewhere, or South London.
Yeah.
And they looked at sites in Walthamstow, Leighton, Crouch End, Canning Town, all over the place. And this site came up, which was in the same area as Beavertown. And, at that point, Beavertown was still cool. Beavertown was still independent, and Beavertown were like really amazing. And it absolutely wasn't a deciding factor in taking on the site, but it was a nice thing that we had this established brewery that had an established tap room. And I think what it did affect is that we decided that we would have a tap room. Whereas I think if we just moved to an industrial estate, there is absolutely no way that the guys would have straight off the bat opened a tap room.
Yeah.
It's just not really in the Pressure Drop nature to be that kind of diversifying the business and sort of juggling lots of balls. And we sort of have begrudgingly gone into this hospitality world. We're in the business of brewing beer, not in running pubs, and we love to have that direct interaction, but it's not something that comes naturally to Pressure Drop. Comes naturally to some of us, but and so that was the big influence, is the fact that we knew that there was an existing tap room on the industrial estate where we were. So we put the plans for the tap room right from the get-go. And in terms of like benefits, there is one big benefit, which is that we share the waste trailer. So all of our waste malt goes in the big trailer that Beavertown use, and the farmer takes it away. And that is so convenient. And there's question of whether they're going to stay in Tottenham now that they have the Enfield site open. So I don't know. We'll have to sort out our own waste, but I'm sure that we'll figure something out. There isn't a big exchange of ideas due to our graphic location, but it is beneficial for the tap room in that customers can go to 2 venues at once. And I think it's probably introduced a bunch of people to us as a brewery because they were visiting Beavertown. And that's quite positive, of course. And everyone who works at Beavertown, Logan, we all have a positive relationship. Day to day, like the guys might borrow chemicals. It's quite funny though. It's usually the guys from Beavertown who are borrowing stuff from us and not the other way around.
Get your accounts in order.
But we love all of the team. We have so many friends who currently work or used to work for Beavertown, and one of those great friends, of course, is Claire.
Wait.
And I'm sure Claire can.
I don't think I have anything,
No.
especially not this many drinks in, that I really feel will be a useful addition to the conversation.
Well, I would just say, we're basically, when Heineken bought into Beavertown, Claire Nyon immediately gave me a message on Facebook, I think, and said, "Hey Sienna, do you guys have can we have a chat? Do you guys have any jobs going?" We didn't have any jobs going, but we of course couldn't miss up the opportunity to have Claire on board, so we made a job available, and we love her, and she's made our company amazing ever since.
Yeah, they took pity. I was like, definitely as job interviews go, I was wearing I'd gone for a run
in the cold room.
I was not aware of the formality of the chat, in fairness, Sienna. And I was wearing a pair of cycling shorts and a common Gaelic football jersey. And Gaelic football jerseys are the least sexy of all the jerseys. Let's be clear. And we sat in the cold room because it was summer.
She participated in a running litter pick with Graham.
I also did that because those are the kind of things you do when you want to get hired.
Yeah, and then we had a chat in the cold room about what does she want to do?
Were you getting really cold, Claire? Hiking shorts aren't great for a cold room.
No, I sweat a profuse amount, Jonny, so I was still maintaining a base level of heat.
I think that was my suggestion. I was like, Claire's really hot. Do you want to go in the cold room?
Sweat on some kegs, thank you. No, it just had, it was like this that wasn't the direction I wanted, and I just dropped a line to some of my favorite breweries, and to be honest, like even when I first started wanting to get out of like working in the pubs, I'd done like bottling down at that Bohemia Place site for the guys. I'd kind of written a begging letter and been like, I love your beer, please let me work for you. And they were like, okay, it's just the three of us for now, but come on down for a couple of days and bottle some beers. So I used to go and do that, and like they'd send me off at like a day's pay and like a crate of bottled Pressure Drop in my basket, and like off I go. So it's like I kind of feel like Pressure Drop's been kind of part of my craft beer journey the whole time, and now I'm where I belong.
Yeah, I think I really appreciate your honesty and giving.
There's more honesty, believe me.
we'll see where it goes.
It's not on camera, my friend. It's just not on camera.
I guess I think it's important to remember that, like somebody said in the comments, I can't quite remember who, that the actual people involved who work at Beavertown didn't have much of a say in the buyout. Moving job takes time. Everyone has their lines drawn where they want to be drawn, and nobody's completely
choice. You know what? And this is what got me. And it's like, look at it clearly meant a lot to me. So it's like I absolutely understand the people who were fans and felt hurt and felt let down. Like I felt so hurt and let down. I left. But like at the end of the day, just make that choice and be like, I'm really sad. I'm really let down. I'm not going to buy from that brewery anymore. Like that's all that needs to be done, to be honest, in my view, because if you're going to write like a personal email to the top, because frankly, being a dickhead online, that no one's seeing that but the person who's getting a lot less money than the people at the top to be exposed to that. And you can say, I'm sure you can be like, oh, well, it wasn't personalized at them, but you have to understand there's someone there just absorbing negativity. And what are you achieving at the end of the day? Like, why say something online without a purpose, So,
yeah, it should be directed at other people. It should be like, hey, did you know about this? It shouldn't be at.
Or just be like, okay, well, I'm really sad about that, but like, God knows there's so many incredible, exciting new breweries coming out. So, like, talk about them and be like, oh, well, that's shit.
Positivity is key.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we've got a super chat that I've been holding here from Jen. What are you boys most excited about in 2021? We'll obviously extend that to the girls as well. We've already had our say with our 2021 video, but I've got one thing I'll pick out of it afterwards. But I'd love to know what, Sienna and Claire, let's narrow it down to beer culture or food culture is most exciting you about 2021.
So not Roscommon's chances at All Ireland. Fine.
We can go there. We've got an Ask Me Anything that was supposed to start 20 minutes ago.
That's not going anywhere. Sienna, you go ahead there.
I mean, it's really kind of tricky to be super forward thinking and positive, I guess, with the state of things. So I think aspirations for 2021 are very low key. under promise, overachieve. I'm just very excited to see pubs reopen, and I just have such high hopes that obviously being safe and being healthy and being careful, that we can all get out there and support independent venues more than ever. And I think that's going to be so important, because you see a lot, and this is turning negative and I didn't mean it to, you can see that there is talk about these big pubcos buying up venues because they're going out of business, blah blah blah, and they're seeing this negative thing as an opportunity, and it's up to us as like connoisseurs of independence or independent products and people who enjoy good stuff, to support those venues who champion that for us. So that said, I'm really looking forward to all of the pubs who've been sort of hanging low to getting back and being vibrant, and us all being able to enjoy them. You're having Imperial Stout before Dipper.
It's happening, Sienna, and this is happening.
We didn't put all of the beers into the tasting.
Oh, okay, fine.
We didn't want to encourage people to drink.
We're not.
An 8-pack.
I don't know. I was like, I have them all here ready. Sorry, that's my thing.
We'll have a chat about those beers, but we won't drink them all. People in the chat, please.
No, you're bang on.
But Sienna, you were talking great stuff. Carry on.
Enjoying beers in the sunshine. Sorry, I got distracted. And that's it. I have low expectations of 2021, because everything that happens in 2021, fingers crossed, is going to be better than what happened in 2020. So,
yes,
living life, being happy, positive, enjoying beer. And one other little thing, there's been like quite a few this is a food thing, startup businesses who have, it's been chefs who've been put on furlough or been made redundant, who have started up their own businesses and used Instagram to grow them. I'll do a quick shout out to Mystic Borek if you're in London, and to Decatur if you're in the UK. You can order their shrimp boils as a great example of two businesses who have just done amazing things, and seeing like young entrepreneurs being able to make the best out of a bad situation, and they've got some really cool stuff that's going to come their way, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So on the food front, check out those meal delivery kits from cool gangs. Instagram. It's great.
It kind of like puts me in mind of in the bad old day, like just as my last year in Dublin was the year of like the crash, and you saw, and some of the best things that you saw were like these people who were like hustling and like chose that time to try and do something cool and fun. Like we've got like the guys from Body Tonic who have some really great pubs across Dublin now, or like there's like a pub in my hometown that I always go on about, like that started doing more craft beer in the depths of a recession in this super rural town. And I have such respect for those people. It's amazing. And just, support them, whatever you can do, definitely. And 2021, I couldn't put it better than Sienna, but I'm going to talk nonsense anyway. It's I'm looking forward to getting back to Ireland. I haven't been back to Ireland in a year now, and it's I'm gonna start like turning green soon. It's tough going. I'm getting married. That should be good. Hopefully, if I can get that.
Oh yeah, Claire.
Postponed.
Pardon?
Was that going to be last year, and now it will be this year?
That was going to be last year. Yeah. So now we're September 2021.
Come on.
Let's because also it's like, it's really bad, but I was like, love, I'm really excited to be marrying you and joining in this love union, but also I really want to party. So that's the main thing. And the thing is, like, there's so many like hot takes and people, but there's still really exciting, quality beer. Thank you, Benjamin, you sweetheart. There's oh, okay. Hang on, a good man, Mark. Good job. There's still, like I said, every year, like there's exciting and really good breweries happening. And as I said, I'm gonna give another shout out to my pals up in New Barns. But like, there's Beak Brewery down in Sussex. Like, we're still. You hear a lot of people trying to sound jaded, like too cool for school or whatever, but there's still loads of people doing great stuff, you know, and keep looking and chatting to people in your local bottle shops, because they know when they'll set you right, like actually that. So yeah, go and find your best local indie. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to doing, is what's been really interesting. In the last year, we started sending a lot more beer directly to like bottle shops across the country rather than just locally, because we've kind of branched into our online shop a bit more. So we're able to courier beers. So there's all these like amazing bottle shops across the country that I really hope, once I want to go on some kind of like Pressure national tour of like these like places. Like Ian up at House of Trembling Madness has like supported us in a massive way. Jonny at Rain. See, now I'm naming people again, and I'm going to feel bad because I'm going to forget people like Chad at Grunting Growler up in Glasgow. I want to go into all these people and like just hug them and lick their face. That's what I want to do in 2021.
You can't use. I don't think face licking is going to be a thing for many a year.
I think it is. I'm going to make it happen, Sienna.
Bradley, do you want to lick people's faces in 2021?
I mean, whose face haven't I licked over the years, to be honest? Many a face has been licked. We've gone full screen on my face now. I
thought I needed it in full HD.
Yeah, let me think about this. My 2021, what I'm most looking forward to. It's not robots from the comments.
Yes,
robots is the most commented thing, and I'm guessing that's a Boston Dynamics sort of robot chat. I don't know.
No, it's by Pressure Drop, Brad.
Robots.
Yes,
Right.
12 ounce bottle shop, by the way. Sorry, that came up on the super chat. So I'm also gonna say yes.
Right. Shit. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just a bit drunk now. What am I most looking forward to is. I'm loving. We're sort of making new content now around home brewing. So the home brewing stuff.
Nice.
I think it's great.
Will you make a skeeter pee?
What's that?
Will you make a skeeter pee?
Oh no, Sienna.
A skeeter pee.
Make a skeeter pee.
I don't know what that is.
I'll let you look. Oh, you have to look it up, and you have to do a video on it.
Skeeter pee.
How are you spelling skeeter pee?
SK.
Keeps trying to make skeeter pee happen.
TER space PE.
Skeeter pee.
I challenge you, and make it taste good.
Is it so it's a beer, is it?
No.
It's a fucking nonsense.
It's a fermented beverage.
It's not in the editorial plan, Sienna, I'll be honest with you.
But what
if you want to do a collab at Pressure Drop, we'll do it with you.
Skeeter
Oh.
pee.
It's like a homebrew hard seltzer.
Oh, okay. Well, we're going to do hard seltzers at some point as well.
We are. Maybe we'll take your suggestion in mind.
Oh, good luck.
No, should we not?
We made a scooter pee at the start of the first lockdown, and it was good.
It sounds like
you and your husband or Pressure Drop?
it sounds like a prison wine or something. A skeeter pee.
Yeah,
it kind of is. It's like sugar wine.
Okay.
Lemon wine.
I like lemons.
I'm not sure if I've shown this super chat, but
yes, no, I did start shouting about this, but then it was at a crossroads of Skeeter P and homebrew. But 12-ounce bottle shop are absolutely gorgeous, and I think they actually had to start up, and that's what's been really amazing is lots of businesses actually starting up during lockdown and just like hustling, and as I said, just like pubs doing their best, and and in the correct way, of course, and like it's been great, and again, just seeing it like across the country, down as far as like Cambourne to we actually the Caledonian beer shop. He's up in KY, whatever that postcode is. So I'm really into postcodes, so. We can get into that.
You don't know him, though, do you, Claire?
Huh?
You don't seem to know him, though, do you?
I do. KY. It's the tippity top of Scotland.
The tippity top.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Jonny, don't avoid this question again. What are you looking? Well, you've done many videos on the subject, I'm sure. But what are you looking forward to in 2021?
It's nice to have the roles reversed. I am looking forward to the enjoyment of non-adjunct beers.
Okay.
Yep.
Are you saying?
Well,
yeah, bad timing on that one. But like, let's deep dive. Let's deep dive.
Hey, do you know in terms of beers by Pressure Drop that have really stood out for me most recently? Well, relatively recently, it was Fashion.
Yeah.
I thought that was a beautiful beer.
Yesterday.
What?
We just rebrewed it. It's out again.
No way.
We launched it again. Yeah, yesterday.
I'd love to have had that in this box. So Fashion it's a London porter.
Yeah,
it is. I'll give you a top secret insider story.
Hit me.
It's street porter.
Yeah.
What?
The same. It's the same beer. Sorry, that's maybe too insider.
Yeah.
It's just like a renamed version of the beer that we used to make called Street Porter.
So it's just the same beer, but you've rebranded it.
Pretty much.
But you've also, the brewers learned a lot. So when was the last time you did Street Porter?
I don't think the recipe has changed much.
No.
Maybe a slight adjustment to water chemistry, but not much.
So I mean, it could be me buying into like the normcore, like you called it street porter. It wasn't a special thing. Whereas as soon as you put fashion on and made a statement about it not being fashionable, I was suddenly like, yeah, I'm different. I like this.
We played your mind.
Played me.
But it is just a really good beer. It's fashion. It's a black can. There's no design on the label. It's just like, boom. Do you want it or not?
Yeah.
I wanted it. I wanted it real bad.
It's good.
It was delicious.
And we do continue to kind of tread that line between we like being silly, and again, I feel we glossed over the absolute silliness of this label because it's ridiculous.
It's a cat's birthday.
It's a cat's birthday party.
Is that not from an old kid's book that was like 3D?
I don't know. It's from like an old greeting card I found it on.
Do you know about these? They used to make photographs like this that had cats and dogs on. They were actually dead. They were stuffed. They were meat.
Yeah. It makes sense now you say it.
I think that's a pretty macabre image. I reckon. Actually, their eyes look alive. So I think their eyes
look alive.
Yeah. I think they're just kittens, and your graphical treatment of it has made it look as if it's a sort of 19th century.
Yeah.
I as a kid, I read it. I had a book.
It's a heavily edited image.
Yeah.
I don't know whether I want to go through with this, so I was hoping Sienna would plow on. I had a book as a kid when I was learning to read, and it was about kittens who had lost their mittens. And it was, do you remember, there was a phase of books being 3D. So when you moved it.
Or you put your hands in the mittens.
Oh no,
Oh.
not literally. When you moved it, they moved. So
Did you
Yeah,
have a hologram?
It was like plastic.
Did you have a hologram, or were you wearing the glasses?
It was plastic, and it was like stripes.
Like tiny ridges in it that meant that depending on what angle you looked at.
We didn't have those in Roscommon.
But that looks exactly like the kittens who lost their mittens.
Oh, cute.
It also reminded me. I sort of collect various different weird things, and one of the things I collect are sort of bubblegum playing cards from the 1980s.
Nice.
And there's a series that are from Japan that are all cats that are dressed up. So you can buy like sort of these. They're like sort of football, stickers or whatever. But instead, they're cats that are dressed in, cowboy hats and whatever.
I love cats. Animals dressed up.
Yeah, like PG Tips monkeys or something. But they're these Japanese kittens from the 1980s, which is, I think, is what I'm sort of. Maybe I'm getting cross wires because I don't know whether they were stuffed dead animals. I'm not quite sure. But there was like sort of quite a dark thing going on. But have we established what everyone's sort of things they're looking forward to in 2021 are?
We've just established what my drag name is.
Go on.
Jonny.
Also, I've decided that mine is going to be Pally Alley.
Ooh, good name.
Which was when I would be in the Jolly Butchers back in the day, and it was in like and also just in Stoke Newington. Not everyone's going to be English who goes in there, but like I think it was in the rough trade and stuff as like a cool bar, and you would get people from the continent who would ask for an IPA, which is your classic IPA, like that's just what an IPA is called over there yonder. But I also remember pouring a beer for a young lady who was like, the Pally Alley. So now I always think of a pale ale as a Pally Alley. So thank you.
That whole story, I thought you were going to reference it back to Ali Pally.
No, although I did see one of the best gigs of my life there, Robin. Yes, please.
I love the way my karaoke tune is Dancing on My Own.
I'm sorry. Sad, upbeat songs about awkward girls. Yes, please.
That's probably in my top 10 ever pop tunes.
Yeah,
that's so good. It's so
in Dancing on My Own. In Dancing on My Words, because it's one of the great noises of humanity. Just noises. Full stop.
Just to bring it slightly back to beer, I thought, and we're talking about adjuncts, I thought I would maybe just talk a little bit about this beer.
Yes, please.
So this beer is if you read the label, it's maple coconut chocolate imperial granola stout. And the granola I put in there because it has oats in. I think it's nice to have like a snappy name for the style. And we often, I don't know if we do it with any of these, but if we're doing something wacky, we sometimes just give it a unique style rather than just saying it's an imperial stout or a pastry stout or whatever. But one thing that I will say about Pressure Drop is that we don't use flavorings really at all. We try to avoid using flavorings. And so when we do a stout like this, the maple is from maple syrup. We did actually in this one use a bit of fenugreek seed, which imbibes like a bit of a maple flavor, but it's not maple flavoring. The chocolate is from cacao, and if we use coffee, we use real coffee beans. Like we're not like putting in cake flavorings, I guess is the main thing I'd like to say. And that's something that Ben, who's our head brewer, is really passionate about, is trying to do these adjunct stouts, but in like a real way. That is not just about going down a list of chemical ingredients and saying we want raspberry, we want birthday cake, and we want donut. put it in a beer, because I don't know, it doesn't feel pressure drop.
Yeah. And I think there's an argument to be made as well, like we allow ourselves to do these like slightly more like mad beers because they live in tandem with the cast iron billies and fashions.
Yeah.
It's like we know we can do this style classically really well. We're not trying to cover up anything. We're just trying to have a bit of a laugh.
It's almost feeling like you earn it. Like you go, yeah, we can do this amazing stuff, but we're going to have a little bit of fun right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I think again, sometimes you can get caught up in, you know, being like purist or being not egalitarian, but wanting to do it in the right way or whatever.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, beer is a fun thing, like, and sometimes it's for a brewery, like a producer, obviously we take everything we do very seriously when it comes to the actual recipe making, the production, the quality, everything. But when it comes to making up the ideas for the beer, like, why not be a bit fun? Who cares?
Yeah.
Beer is supposed to be fun. At the end of the day, we're all drinking it for enjoyment. It's a product made for enjoyment.
Yeah. And I think we cover a lot of base, and it's like, you know, we absolutely understand that like a massive granola stout isn't for everyone, but do you know what? Have a pale fire. You know, I'm a bit of a like old lady when it comes to and to be honest, if you look in my fridge, it's going to be like mostly Great Heights that I'm hiding from people and pale fire. But like, look, life's too short, isn't it, to be like kind of saying what's right, what's wrong, you know? And again, going back to that idea of choices.
I've always had a slightly complicated relationship with pastry style brewing because I have a really dry palate.
Yeah.
But what I've always tried to do is remember that beer is supposed to be fun. B, experimentation is why beer is actually more diverse than it used to be. Also, see, like, so long as it's not, I guess, sort of damaging the culture, so long as it's part of the conversation and it's helping and it's broadening, then it's so important. If you have fun while you drink it and it's silly, then it's great. And so I really dislike sort of the more beer snobby stuff, like going like, well, it's not really beer, or it doesn't really taste like this, because
it's the like ham-handedness if you just completely discount something. And when there's so much nuance, like maybe the first person that made a pastry stout was like, I put cake flavoring in a beer, amazing, it tastes like a cake. But then hundreds of other brewers are looking at it in a different way and applying their own techniques and their own skill to it.
Yeah. And I always keep my brother-in-law in my mind as a kind of a more classic craft beer drinker. So like, he lives down in South London. He gets beers from Hopper and Black, who are amazing, obviously. And you know, like, he's not going to walk into Hopper and Black and pick up a 10% pastry stout. Or like, if he is, Jen and Glenn or John or whoever's in there are going to be like, sure about this one? Or like, they'll often say it, like, you know, this is going to have X, Y, and Z flavor to it. And that's the thing, is that like, it's not like anyone's saying like, this is the only kind of beer you ever have to drink. And like, in a funny way, like, because it is that bit stronger and like it's going to cost that bit more, people aren't just going to pick it up by accident. You're going to have a look at it and be like, oh, maybe I'll have this as a little bit of a nightcap, which is what me and myself and himself do. Is like, you know, so no one is saying that like this has to be the only kind of imperial stout we ever have. And God, if we had all night, we could cast our Billy it, which would be real fun.
Bradley, welcome back.
Hello.
Farewell, Bradley.
We're basically doing shifts now. It's got we're now running 50 minutes behind time, which I think is an indication of what everyone's saying in the comments, which is that this has been a really, really lovely chat and really open and entertaining. It's been wonderful. What we're going to do now is move on to the Ask Me Anything. So we're going to start to wind it down. People might have places to go. I say that. It's lockdown. But at this point, if anybody from the show needs to leave or anybody from the comments needs to leave, comments. Which side of the comments? What side? What's right and left? I'm not quite sure anymore. But so we're going to move into the Ask Me Anything. So if you want to ask a question of me, Brad, Sienna, or Claire about anything, it's open season. If you want to jump the queue, you can, of course, support the channel. What I haven't mentioned yet, and there have been some comments in this, is people are mentioning our Discord forum. Our Discord forum it's an online chat room that you can get access if you support our Patreon, which is a little crowdfunding thing we do that supports. It's most of the money that Brad and I make doing this. If you just go to patreon.com/craftbeerchannel, you can give $1 all the way up to $50 if you're a business. And that just supports what we do, and you get access to this amazing forum. There's awesome people in there every day chatting away. We've got a homebrew section. We've got a general nonsense section, a bottle share where you can just talk about beers. We've got a how are you section where we talk about mental health and check on people. And it's a really supportive little group that we have in there. And it's just a lovely, very safe space in the beer world, which sadly isn't always true. There's judgment out there. So if you love what we do and you're not a member, please do join our Patreon, support us, and get yourself a really safe space, part of the internet. I'm sure Gary would approve if he had.
Well, Gary's a member.
So Gary's a member. Gary's always in there every day, chatting away. Shut up, Gary.
You just want some Sussex Best from Harvey's. That's all he's about.
All about Harvey's Best. So yeah, any questions you have now, hit us up either with the super chat or just normally we'll try to get to them. Before we dive into anybody else's, we did have a question from about 3 or 4 years ago, I think pre-Brexit. Somebody asked why hops vary year to year, and then mentioned grapes in the comment. It's exactly that. As the French would say, the terroir, the soil, the climate, the rainfall, the way that the farmer treats it, whether it's organic or whether it's not. All of that changes, and then all of it changes every season as well. So the best thing I could do is point you to our video with The Alchemist, who make the beers that I'm wearing here. John Kimmich, one of the best brewers in the world, he talks about Simcoe, which is a huge part of Heady Topper, one of the best IPAs in the world. And he talks about the peaks and troughs of Simcoe through the ages, and he talks about his favorite Simcoe smelling like cat pee. My favorite Simcoe smells like you cooked up a load of rosemary and some sugar, so it's like caramelized rosemary thing. We have very different opinions on what the best Simcoe is, but that's the variation it has, and that's why it varies. I don't know. Do you guys have anything to add?
Would you say, Jonny, have you always had like a really sharp palate first off? Because I'd say, I'm a trash person. Like I can barely recognize. There's so few flavors that I can recognize, and I blame that on a youth of Heineken and Guinness. But would you say you were always someone who could pick up on flavors or nuances and stuff like that?
I was a super fucking fussy kid.
Okay.
Like, I hated almost everything my parents gave me. And sometimes I wonder whether that's because I had a sharper palate. And when you're a kid, you have a much sharper palate as well. Like, our palates get old as we get older. And I wonder whether it's that. But I think the main reason that I've been successful as a beer writer is because as a writer, you're told to remember every kind of experience and feeling and find a way of expressing it. Mm-hmm. So it's not that I can taste more than anybody else, it's that I can describe it a little bit better. Just go like, I can kind of see that in my mind's eye, and I've just kind of worked.
You take the time and effort to think about it analytically, rather than
Yeah,
going,
well, yeah,
it's
and it gets
delicious.
now that I'm paid to do it as well. Like I have the time, whereas I'm super aware that particularly in a brewery, like you release this beer and you ask the brewer, like, because I do consultancy for breweries, and you write the packaging for them, and you go to the brewer and like, I haven't managed to taste this beer before we need to release it. What's the flavorings? And they're like, well, it tastes like Citra. And you're like, yeah, but which Citra with which yeast and which malt have you put this with? And are we talking Citra where it's grapefruit pith, or are we talking Citra where it's combined with the verdant yeast and it just tastes like pure mango? And
yeah, and that's something that we have, like, I don't want to say but like occasionally, we have broken down the concept of portfolio and what that means to us, or like core range or whatever, and we just kind of have a more rotating offering between new beers and returning beers, and sometimes you just run out of things to say about a pale ale, and that's not to like do it a disservice or say that doesn't mean it's a bad, but like there are, your list of adjectives starts to run low, and it can be tricky, like how many other ways can you say juicy? How many other ways can you say fruity? But you want people to be able to pick it up and get an idea of what they're going to try,
It's the greatest challenge in beer writing is not doing a cliche. Every single beer writer in the world is trying to find other words for juicy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really tough because we're all using the same yeast, the same hops from the same harvest, and we're all drinking it within 2 to 4 weeks of it being brewed. You're like,
yeah. Well, like I set myself all these like silly challenges of being like, I will not mention the weather. I do the little like trade.
No weather, and no, like, never say remember or forget.
Yes.
The remember and forget are for social media especially.
Interesting.
Like, I feel like it's very lazy, like, copy when people say, don't forget, or remember to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I like that.
I don't. That's my pet peeve.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we even have a
really easy way just to say it.
Yeah.
I think people underestimate how hard it is to write about beer, do social media about beer, because the very notion of beer is based off of nostalgia for stuff we've already experienced. It's trying to recreate something that's already happened. So how do you write something that's going to grab you when it's all been done before, as the Bare Naked Ladies said? Just quote the Bare Naked Ladies as if they're an okay band. Let's dive into the questions. Oh God, sorry, there's so many coming in. Sorry, I'm trying to get to the start of it. When did I say we were
monkey?
Okay, you guys deal with that. I'll dig out the right question.
It's a monkey, and Brad's wearing a hat, which I feel we haven't.
It's gone to like a circus man.
Yeah. And
right. First question. Let's start with the madman in the corner. Daddy or chips, Brad? One word. Daddy or chips?
Chips.
Chips. Sienna?
Chips.
Brad, your time's over. Sienna.
Sorry.
I mean, Sienna, this might be explaining to Sienna, because I feel like this is an advertising campaign that might have happened pre-2010s.
Well, then I'll explain it to you, Sienna. Do you love your dad or your chips more?
No.
Oh, I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to say chips.
That's what we all think. Claire?
Yeah. I mean, he's my only living parent, but yes, chips.
Jonny, do your glasses get dirty really quickly? Yes, I've done a tweet about it. It's the biggest tweet I've ever done from my personal account.
Eyebrows sweat into your glasses as someone who has to wear them day in, day out. And
I feel like I should be wearing my glasses.
In her mid-20s, when her eyesight plateaued and now is just progressively getting worse, your eyebrows are leaking sweat into your glasses. Yes, join the Patreon. Thank you.
Join the Patreon, people. You need to go to the brewery, I think. That could be easy depending on where you're from.
Guys, I have a question for the team.
Hit
Which
us.
beer do I dip back into? Because I've got this and this and this. I've got a Future Sunshine and an Escape the City, and It's My Party. And what do I dive back into?
I'm going back to Great Heights for the
I
remainder.
drank all of that. Oh, believe me.
Oh, that all went. That's the only one I've got anything left of. Oh, I've got a little bit.
Why don't I crack in Even Robot Stream, actually? Yeah.
I've got
It's in the other room.
That's about it.
I'm gonna get into this. We didn't even get to talk about like our DIPA label battles.
Have you had some Dipper label battles?
Battles is a strong word for it, but we like to use the DIPA labels as a chance to be extra silly sometimes.
This label is designed by an AI.
What?
Really? What? Hang on. Let's have a close up of that, please.
Here we go. One second. Where have you gone, Sienna? There you are.
This computer learning craziness, is it? So it's basically formed of like cat and dog faces.
Yeah.
And penises and stuff.
And flowers and coral. Yep.
Fucking hell. What's the beer? We haven't got that one, I don't think.
We've got it in our pack, but we're not tasting it tonight.
Sabro Citra DIPA. Doesn't taste like a Hawaiian Tropic.
Oh, does it or it doesn't?
It doesn't, even though there's Sabro in it, which can occasionally taste like Hawaiian Tropic.
Damn. Hawaiian Tropic suntan lotion.
Yeah. You know, that was kind of pineapple-y, wasn't it?
I've been to the Hawaiian Tropic suntan lotion bar in New York City, which is pretty weird. I went in there with my dad years ago, and it was very strange. There were women walking around in
bikinis.
Yeah, it was odd.
Hawaiian Tropics swimsuit competition.
But it was a bar. We went in for a beer.
That's where they hold them.
In the bar?
In bars, yeah.
I thought it was bizarre.
Well, I mean, like it's America. I mean, the home of Hooters.
Yeah, it is the home of Hooters.
The whole Hooters.
Bradley, we've got a question directed at you. This could be us until the small hours, but what's more of a sham, moon landings or weapons of mass destruction in Iraq?
Weapons of mass destruction in Iraq.
Thank you, Bradley. Correct answer.
I'm glad you went for that one. What paella was I knocking up? It was a seafood paella. I think it was based on the Jamie Oliver recipe. It did not go as well with the beer that I was having in the video as I said it was going to. Low alcohol beer and big rich things don't work.
You weren't tempted to go like rabbit and snails or anything?
People put snails in paella?
Yeah, in paella. Apparently that's like a classic Valencian paella. My fella's half French, so his mother brought us over. First of all, brought us over a tin of snails. We were like, "Oh, this is amazing." He's like, "Of course you have a snail dish." We were like, "We actually don't, shockingly, for a flat in London." It's like, "Oh well, I'll have to get you some." So we now have 4 snail dishes and some very expensive tins of snails. But apparently, rabbit and snails is like the OG paella, because as with most things,
must have been from tougher times.
Yeah.
Last summer, when it was raining really heavily, I was trying to grow a garden here in London. My garden was just getting absolutely decimated by snails. Like every time it rained, there would be 200. And I did an Instagram video one morning, and I quite often post food videos on my Instagram, but this one morning I posted this video where I was collecting all the snails from my garden with tongs and putting them in a pot so I could relocate them to the park across the road. And everybody commented that they thought I was going to eat The snails. The dirty London ghost snails.
Yeah, these are not like
terroir for a snail.
Yeah, these are not.
I eat pigeons regularly, and I'm fine.
I mean, London snails?
Pigeons, no pigeons.
Oh, pigeons.
Bradley doesn't eat things with wings, so I can call him out on that as bullshit.
Like sort of getting friendly with a street pigeon and then putting it in a pot. I think that'd be quite fun.
Be very tough. You'd have to tender that up for ages.
Yeah, I've got a hat for it for sure. You know, I could persuade some pigeons to.
It's more of a child catcher hat.
Have you ever been to Bletchley Park? There's a whole pigeon room. I can recommend it.
Does it smell like ammonia?
I mean, I think a lot of Bletchley Park smells like ammonia. Interesting.
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's a good question and one that's been like really interesting this year.
It's multiple fold.
Yeah.
There is a wider direct online market for sure, but the online sector has developed massively in this last year because everybody is desperate to make sales where they can, understandably. So loads of pubs, loads of shops that wouldn't have previously been online are now online. Obviously, as the brewery, if you want to buy Pressure Drop beer and you want to get it super fresh and, you know, never having left a cold room, then it's best to get it from us. But I can completely understand when people would like to buy one Pressure Drop beer, one Daya, one Verdant, one Cloudwater, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, certainly in the beginning of lockdown, it was boom time for breweries, direct online sales. But it has evened out massively since then because there's so much more competition.
Yeah, and we've just kind of decided to, for the moment, just kind of throw our weight behind the customers that we have.
Online,
yeah, and who have diversified to like kind of switching to online or click and collect or whatever that may be. Yeah, but it was very like, so I mean, you remember those early days of lockdown of just kind of being like, it wasn't really clear whether or not off license would be able to stay open or a bottle shop or whatever. And it was a very scary moment. But I will say, you know, it's hard to kind of not want to sound, but like our size has allowed us to be quite flexible. You know, again, there's like, we're small and we can make, and then there were some hairy weeks there in early lockdown of like kind of trying to figure out like systems and like what beer would go to online and what beer would go to trade, blah, blah. Not very interesting, but we figured it out and now we're in a groove. And again, it's just like when we're all kind of grown-ups who can talk to each other and just kind of be like, this is what I need or this is what the warehouse needs. And we've been really lucky, touch wood, you know. Brad is the greatest showman, correct? Thank you.
Yes.
Monkey, bring the monkey back.
This is something honestly we had planned for 2021 was going to some scenes that we hadn't covered yet. In particular, it was going to be Australia and New Zealand, but we have been to Asia. I went to what's called Asian Oktoberfest. It's Oktoberfest in Qingdao in China. If you haven't seen that video, search for Asian Oktoberfest on YouTube. It's quite the event. And if you enjoyed my face during the chat about cancer in our last video, you'll enjoy my face throughout the entire thing. We'd love to cover more. Oh God, there's an owl now, Brad.
It's a menagerie. It's a menagerie. It's so tricky, isn't it? Because there are so many exciting scenes in Yeah.
I think the trickiest thing is that we just can't go to any of them.
Yes.
Like you said, the plan was to go to Australia and New Zealand. Good luck.
They were let.
I am Australian, and there's no way I could go there.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's also, you know, there's I've got to be careful how I word this. If we had £1 for every time somebody messaged us and said this region makes the best beer, then we would never stop traveling. And so we have to use like our experience and knowledge, and obviously the advice of Bert and Ernie, to work out where truly makes it and where, you know, there isn't the context to know that. So,
I mean, I'll always remember, I think it was the boys at, it could be, maybe I shouldn't say it, but I don't think it was particularly offensive, but like people who run like a well-known London craft bottle shop, where like people will come in and be like, oh, there's this Vietnamese lager that you really need to get in because it's like the best lager I've ever had. And it's like, yes, because you had it in a hammock in Vietnam and you were having the time of your life. Of course, it was the best beer you've ever had. And I know that's not exactly the point you were making there, Jonny, but like there is an element of context or whatever. But I will say, I have been getting like requests from people. You often get emails from people. What sticker?
I think I wonder whether that's just where somebody just says, no, I just love what you do. Here's a super sticker. It's not. He hasn't written super sticker.
I'll take it.
I mean, apparently, I'm still a newbie to YouTube.
We'll take that. We'll take the credit for that.
Sticker,
yes.
Yeah.
No, I'll take it.
Thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah,
Brad's just showcasing animals. I think it might be past his bedtime.
Yeah, when I'm really drunk, I start shouting how lager isn't a style.
Okay, it has to be
Whereas
shouted
Brad
out.
just starts showing his weird cardboard cutouts.
Oh, I like that. Is that a label? Is that a new label?
It's a new label.
Oh yeah. Oh
Wow.
yeah. Come on, Brad.
The battle for pink goes on.
Yeah, that is pink.
King, Queen, Knave.
Pink.
Yeah, this is our newest. Well, it's kind of like we don't like to use the term core range because we don't really have one, but it's going to be brewed fairly regularly.
Yeah,
and
it's the New England Pale Ale.
Yeah, because last year we were making a lot of new and special hazy pales, and we knew there was a demand for it, but like possibly that we were oversaturating ourselves by like kind of making these new ones all the time. So, well, who doesn't need a cutout, sir? So we were kind of like, well, why not just like focus our attentions into one kind of like amazing hazy pale, and we will still do other specials.
Yeah, but it's like we practiced a lot.
Yes,
lots of different New England pales, and this is like the big daddy. It's got Mosaic, Citra, and Simcoe, and it tastes really goddamn good. And it's kind of like, I imagine it's the kind of beer like when Pressure Drop first started in 2012, it was like we have to have a pale ale, like a West Coast style pale ale. Like you can't be a brewery without our pale ale. But if Pressure Drop started now,
5 core range,
we would have had the same conversation, but about a New England pale ale, like our steady rolling, if you will. And this is it. So it came out on Friday, so keep an eye out on and you can buy it on our web shop.
There you go. Friends, I think given that it's 11:15, it's probably time to wrap this up.
No.
Carry on. It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, we've never had one that has run on this long. I was thinking halfway through, I was like, this is so under control. I am nailing this. Like, I am like a wizard. I'm like a puppet master as we work our way. Oh my God, all the strings are tangled, and now it's 11:15. And the last comment I just read was about how to get rid of snails in your garden. Apparently, the snail pellets. In case you didn't know, Sienna.
Or copper tape.
Copper tape?
Copper tape.
Yeah, they
This is how they get me. This is how they distract me.
They go over it with their slimy little bodies, and it gives them a shock, and they retreat.
Wow.
But then they have to go back over the copper.
No, they touch it, go back.
Oh, they go. Oh no! Like dipping your toe in cold water.
Yep.
Right, there we go.
I've been incredibly quiet this evening, and that's just because I've been very much enjoying the conversation of Sienna and Claire and Jonny as well. But I'm a listener primarily, and I will always default to listening to somebody else who I think is more interesting than myself. So I'd just like to say thanks so much to Claire and Sienna for being like the two best guests we've probably ever had. And we've been getting so many comments about our mythical bus tour that's going to take us to Belgium.
Would love to be on it.
With you guys, like your number one and number two guests, you're coming on the tour with us.
At some point, Claire's driving. I don't care if she doesn't have a license.
That's going to be a terrible plan because I don't have a license.
Well, Claire, it's forget about driving, but me and
not while you're doing it. Don't forget about driving while you're doing it.
I don't know why you're doing it, but forget about driving. But me and you, we're going to curate those sort of like weird pop-down screens that come down on buses.
Yeah.
We're going to play just John Carpenter movies all the way to Belgium. It's going to be amazing.
Yes, starting with an escape to New York, finishing with an escape from LA. And who knows what?
Yeah, I don't even think I could get on board with Escape to LA. That's the thing.
Oh, you can. Oh, I think we can once we have a few IPAs.
Maybe. We've got a very...
I think you're in the wrong country there. We're not going to have a lot of IPAs in Belgium.
Yeah, it's going to be all sours.
But on the way
like
to
a lot of
Belgium.
acid reflux and farting.
On the way to Belgium, we're going to just don't I thought this out, guys. Don't correct me.
That is reassuring.
Yeah.
So all I can say is thank you so much for joining us for a 3.5 hour epic.
This has been a hoot. This has been an absolute hoot. Thank you so much for having us. And anytime, my lunchbox is empty. So let's go again.
It's a good night when your lunchbox is empty.
Exactly. And I'm about to go and crash a Zoom chat where everyone's going to be so much more sober than I am. So
the best feeling.
And I wish I had friends that are on a Zoom chat right now. I've got nobody.
You go chat and me for that up.
You've got your cutout animals. Don't be ridiculous.
I've literally got my weird cutout circus of animals.
Yeah.
And that's it.
It's just two, and it's an owl and a monkey, an unlikely pet.
Yeah,
I have more, Sienna. There are more of these. There are more.
Okay.
I'll bring them out next time. I've got a Labrador. I've got a bunny rabbit. I've got all sorts.
Good. Well, we'll save those for future streams. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you aren't a member of our Patreon, please do join patreon.com/craftbeer channel. If you have never tasted any Pressure Drop beers, which is hopefully unlikely at this point, please go to pressuredrop.com.
.co.uk. We're very nationalistic.
.com will work.
Oh, will it?
Okay. Either way.
But officially,
and if you can afford to in these strange times, pay over 70 quid. Not only do you get free shipping, you also get to help out some small independent businesses that will need you so much in the coming months, more than they ever have. They will need you.
And you get to pick the venue that gets your support.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So, thank you so much, Sienna and Claire. And absolutely,
everybody for being so lovely. I was worried it was going to be loads of people being like, "Oh, where are these shrill women shouting at me?" So I'm super glad. Thank you.
No. When we go on our Belgian bus trip, we're just going to play. Robin is going to be on the radio the whole way.
We do an interpretive dance.
We're just going to have a great dance, a great time all the way out to Belgium. We might.
And then the hangover bus home will be like, can somebody find the switch for Robin and turn this off, please?
No, don't think that Robin doesn't have gentle, hangover-friendly tracks, because she does.
There we go. There we go. Like these
numbers, it's fine.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yes, sorry, I will let you go.
Right, much love. Thank you so much for joining us, and much love to everyone in the comments. You've been amazing. We'll see you on Wednesday for the next upload, and we'll see you on the 19th for our Beak live show. The next bit of entirely unedited nonsense. All the best.
Bye.